Board members, want to call our committee meeting to order for tonight, December 14th, 2023. Appreciate all of you being in attendance tonight. And as we prepare for our 6 o'clock meeting, wanted to give us the opportunity to review and see if there's any questions on the items that we have listed on consent agenda, which includes some matters of policy, includes maintenance, school and budget reports, TLN reports, our monthly threat assessment reports, personnel reports, and then we have some administrative items that we need to look at, and that's approval of some insurance carriers, physicians, and a service that will help us allow us to recoup some costs for some of the health services that we're providing through our nurses. We'll be looking at our school calendar, renewing a memo of understanding with the Van Buren County School District regarding assisting them with transportation training. We have a few items for surplus items for sale. And then I think this has been brought up. I think Ms. Stone, you expressed some concern about this in the past about free lunches for the high school, and it looks like
that's wonderful.
Looks like we can touch on that, but looks like that we don't have some funding to be able to do that. So that's kind of the agenda that we have tonight in consent, and so we'll take this opportunity just to run through some of those consent items. Mr. McDonald just provided some clarification that on the minutes from our committee meeting from last month, that it was noted he was absent, and yes, he was physically absent, but he has been calling in to our committee meeting, and he's joining us by phone. So we just want to make note in the an update in the minutes for that meeting that he joined by phone as he was traveling in, and so we appreciate Mr. McDonald making the effort to do that, and we understand challenges of work schedules and board meetings times. So that was one item that wanted to bring to your attention. If you're going through your packet through the folder, electronic folder, the next item was the school board meeting minutes from November 9th. If you have anything there that we need to make corrections on, we can let that be known now.
Mr. Chairman, I have one.
Yes, sir. when
we went to TLN right there was a note in there that said nothing to report at this time. I wasn't given the opportunity to report anything. I wasn't asked. I was skipped over.
Okay. So we'll make note of that, that was omitted during our meeting. So if you could make that change, Ms. Sims, that would be grateful. Any other items that we want to change on the regular meeting minutes?
So, like what Mr. Howard is saying, so if I'm understanding, like our reports as far as our committee reports, like for financial or school, so we're including that all now in our 5 o'clock meeting to go over that, and that's why we don't read it at the 6 o'clock meeting. That's correct, right?
That's correct. That was a consent agenda item.
Yep.
You were aware of that, Mr. Howard?
Sure.
Okay. So we skipped you in committee. We'll make sure we don't do that tonight.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else on the our minutes from last month? Okay, then we'll move on to item 7B. We have received federal funding for that will be used for COPS grant. So that's going to be funds that will be used to go back and provide updates to our facilities for cameras and security measures. Exterior cameras being a big portion of that. Locking systems for doors, interior doors, and one exterior door. The description of those funds was provided in your packet in the description for when we were advised of that budget amendment. So pause here for a moment. Any questions or comments on that?
I do have one comment, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Drumbarger, this is for you. I know that was about $480,000, I believe, was that COPS grant. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So will we be able to do the vast majority of the security upgrades that we need in the schools with that $480,000?
Well, there was a needs assessment sent out, and principals expressed their needs for their schools, and overwhelmingly the main concerns, they were prioritized. Mr. Brian Haley supervised that. Those needs were prioritized, and the prioritized needs are listed on the grant this evening, which were primarily cameras, locking systems for interior doors, and latching systems for some of the doors that we have issues with, and maintenance issues, along with some window coverings as well. So those needs are sought from the schools and then prioritized, and that's where the money will go first.
Okay, all right. That was my concern. That high school campus scares me because of so many access points and you know, those kids having to move about from one building to another outside. So that scares me a little bit up there on that campus.
Yes, sir. Understood.
I agree with that.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Any other comments on Subfund 141 and the COPS funding grant? And thanks to administration and for getting this grant, applying for it, and doing that assessment. So it's nice to see that we're applying for funds to help us in areas that may not be covered in our budget. Okay, we'll move on to next item on our consent. That's right now we're getting into these are policies that we approved on first reading last meeting. That would be policy 1105, 1701, 2400, 2601, 4603, 28051, and also one that was not presented last month. That's policy 3206. 3206 is an update of community use of school facility, and it's our fee schedule. We discovered that the fee schedule for custodial fee did not cover the amount needed for us to provide that service. Because you run into overtime issues, so that was something that once it was discovered, made an adjustment there. So that went from $25 to $35, and so that fee adjustment should cover then the overtime and associated matches for us to be able to provide that service. This is the only policy that would be a first reading. I will entertain board's thoughts on allowing this to approve this fee schedule adjustment, and then forego the second reading, so we can go on and put this fee in place in the event somebody needed to use the facility over the holidays, if there was anything, just to make sure we had those costs covered. And if we're going to do that, I'm going to suggest we just pull that down to new business, and so that way we can use proper motion to forego second reading of that policy change, and that way it can go in effect after tonight. So any thoughts on that, board members?
So, Mr. Chairman, was that fee, was it just not there at all before, or did we raise the rate of it?
It was, but it wasn't taking into account the overtime that was associated with the custodial
hours.
fee. Yeah,
Yeah.
for the after hours.
Okay, thank you.
Have any thoughts or opinions on that? All right, so we're okay with the fee schedule adjustment. We understand that. Do we, are you in line with me that we pull that into a new business item so we can just go on and approve that on first reading tonight? Mr. Simmons, what do you think?
I think that sounds great.
Okay, I appreciate it. You looked like you had a thought on that, so I want to recognize you on that. So thank you. So, Mr. Simmons' recommendation, we'll pull that into new business. So we'll make that adjustment in our on our agenda. Next, we'll go into the maintenance reports, and I think I want to credit our maintenance team for the correction they made to the drain line at the high school. And Mr. Alley, your team, thank you for doing that. It looks like that $10,000 saved us about $150. So I call that good management. So thank you. Thank you for being creative, figure out how to get that done too. But looks like that all facilities seem to be under general maintenance, and there's no outstanding issues with any of them of major concern?
Correct.
Okay.
I got a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So the fire marshal completed his inspection. Do they come in ever so often?
They come once a year, check every building that houses students once a year.
Thank you.
Okay. Any,
Can you repeat that response? I couldn't hear who was talking.
yes, that was Ms. Fowler asked if the fire marshals came in and did that periodically, and Mr. Alley said that they do come in on an annual basis and inspect all of our facilities.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item is on consent agenda is our school report.
Hey, Mr. Chairman?
yes, sir.
I didn't know
I'm
we were
sorry.
going to be off maintenance right there.
Okay, yeah,
Question right
we can
there.
come back to that.
On the handrail up at Bondycroft, is it going to be repaired, fixed? Or we don't have another incident or accident like we had?
Well, it was made by code. You know, we can look at enhancements that can be made to it, but it is designed by code. We just had a little one fall through there, so.
Mr. Nick, can I jump in? I just got a report. They'll be there tomorrow at 10 to put a handrail across the middle.
They're gonna put another rail in. Okay, there's your answer.
It'll be fixed
Awesome.
tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Before I move on from maintenance, anything else maintenance-wise you want to address? Okay. Then next we'll move on to our school reports. Seems like this is the season of testing, and that seemed to be a common theme of all of our reports. So we do appreciate receiving those, and is Ms. Hicks in the building? Yeah, she is right there. Ms. Hicks, anything you would like to share about Cassville since we're here, and give you the opportunity to just give a snapshot?
I did not prepare for this.
Well, that's okay.
No, we're just excited to have you guys on campus. I know you guys don't get to visit with us much, but our teachers and kids are doing great.
Well, that's good. That's good. Thank you for having us tonight.
And we have a beautiful school here, and you've done a very good job.
Yeah.
And appreciate the effort for getting us set up for tonight. So, that took some extra work, so thanks for the staff there. Any other comments, questions about any of the school reports?
I do have one, Mr. Chairman, and I know last month or month before we approved a co-op program for the high school wrestling to create a wrestling team. Did I hear that we had over 30 kids show up to try out for that, and we are no longer going to co-op with Cumberland County and just do it on our own?
Yes, that'll be part of the director's report, but we do have a team of our own for the first time, and we actually.
Sorry to steal your thunder.
That's fine. That's
There
fine.
you go, Jason.
Yeah, that's fine. No, yeah, we're excited about that, and we actually won our first official match this week. We had a student pin someone and win the first official match in high school history. We have had students that win matches when we were co-oping, but they were technically playing for the other team. So this is the first White County High School match win that we've had this week.
That's great. All right. Anything else on our school reports? Okay. Next is in our agenda is the budget report. And that was presented to you, and appreciate Mr. Markham putting that together for us. One thing, and just as a reminder, I think it's good that we're reminded of this when we're looking at this particular financial report. Remember that we started a payroll prior to in the last week of August. So as you look at that, it's showing spending a little bit more money than what we might normally have spent if that September payroll had been in and not had been processed in the last day of August. So we're showing a little bit of discrepancy there as so you look at your budget numbers. So just keep that in mind when you look at that, because you look at the total salaries, that number up significantly from last year. Obviously, we have some compensation for teachers that's included in that, but it's like in that number, it's counting for an additional payroll that would not have been reflected last year in last year's budget this same time. So, but that's the report was provided to you. Any questions on the budgets and the revenues, expenditures?
Mr. Chairman, I would like, Mr. Markham has provided this along with a few notes. One of the notes he had, just wanted to kind of read that out so
Sure.
everyone could see. So one of his notes, it says overall, as compared to the October 2023 report, we have decreased our net annual month-to-month deficit by just over $500,000 and appear to be on track for a good fiscal year ended. So to your point, as far as some things seem to be more, but also revenues seem to be more. So Mr. Markham may want to speak more to that, but it seems like it's all going to kind of balance out like it's per planned anyway.
Thank you. Mr. Markham, is there anything you want to add that from your report? Any clarifications?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's just typical of where we would be within the year. We typically expend more, and then as we go throughout the year, our revenues catch up. So whenever it appears to be on track for a healthy fiscal year.
Great. Appreciate you putting that together and staying on top of that. Okay, any other questions, comments on the budget report before we move on?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question right here, just looking at the percentage right there. Our liability insurance seems like it's about the only thing that's over 100%. That will give me a question. Can we get an answer? What's happening there?
Yeah, so whenever we do this budget process, starting in April, it gets passed by the county commission in June, we typically don't get our final numbers from the insurance company as far as what our premiums are going to be for a July 1 start until after the budget's passed and prepared. So we try to estimate those, and from time to time, typically we'll overestimate it, so we'll have some extra in that line. But this year we underestimated a little bit, so we'll have to do a budget amendment throughout the year, sometime this year before the end of the year, to correct that. But it's really nothing. Overall, Tennessee Risk saw a little bit of an increase in premiums across the board for all their members. So,
Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other budget questions? All right, we'll move on. The next item provided in your packet was threat assessment, and I'm sorry, Ms. TLN report. Mr. Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for recognizing me. And let me back up to my notes that I've added to from last month. Okay, here they are. And I left my glasses outside, so maybe I can read it. As we know, the legislation session is not back in until the first of the year, but the biggest thing that we seem to be a controversial issue right now is the governor's new school voucher law that he's trying to get passed. And some of the figures that being thrown around right now is still jumbled up, but supposedly he's looking at covering 20,000 students this coming year, and then K through 12 is eligible for vouchers beginning 2025. And I don't know any more. Someone that knows more about it than me can, if they're interested in commenting on how that will impact our public schools. There's a figure being said right now, $7,075 per participant annually. Uncertain if these vouchers would hold private or home schools to the same public schools standards as of yet. And Governor Lee is trying to follow the states like Florida, Iowa, and Arkansas that passed massive voucher expansions this year. Of course, the TEA and professional educations of Tennessee oppose the voucher, but there's several other states that have already gone through school vouchers. Some of them like Arizona, Ohio, Oklahoma, North Carolina, West Virginia, Georgia, Indiana, Louisiana, Maine, Maryland, Mississippi, New Hampshire, Utah, Vermont, Wisconsin, Washington, D.C., and Puerto Rico. So this seems to be an issue that's going to have to be dealt with, either at the legislative level or local level in the near future. So it could be something that already try to put plans in place for, against, however, the school board or legislative body needs to see fit. So just to update.
Mr. Howard, on that subject, if I'm not mistaken, when the legislature was considering that, that the House took that up, but they were having I think a conference on that, but I don't think the Senate supported that. So I think this is a matter that's right now is just something that the House is looking at. So in order for that to pass through the governor, it would have to get Senate support, and my understanding, it does not have that right now. So it's good that you bring that up, but that's what I understand. So, but it's something that we do need to be aware of, because that could be impactful to funding for sure. Anything else, Mr. Howard?
No, sir, not at this time.
Okay.
Next few months will be interesting. And I meant to ask a question here also. How much time do you want to spend on when it gets into session right here? You could have 200 bills. How does this position of TLN, how do you all want that position to pursue what it would be relevant to bring before the board? Have any ideas?
That's a really good question, because there's a whole lot of information that comes up in that.
And I know you don't want to spend 30 minutes on TLN, but I just want to do a good job of what the board wants done.
Any board member have any comments on that? Any thoughts? Director?
Well, I'd like to say TSBA does a pretty good job of summarizing week to week where they are in the legislative process, so that might be something to bring forth. They do a good job also of prioritizing which bills have legs, which ones have chance, and which ones don't.
Mm-hmm.
So it might be, might be a suggestion to look towards that, look for their updates, or even reach out to them for an update. They do a really good job with their lobbyists to stay on top of where the bills are in the process.
Do all board members get those from TSBA? I mean, I don't want to repeat or go into
It might be
depth.
that you just spotlight some of those things that are on that in case they missed it or didn't get that update. That would be my suggestion.
Okay.
That, and we could even thanks to our stellar IT department. We might could put those out and send those out to board members and rank them in, in priority of importance, and maybe we could just track those based on what TLN, what they're supporting, because you were at the delegation when they put their agenda down, their lobbying agenda down. So it may be that there's some of those we could go through and pick what we think is most impactful for our district, and then we could just kind of track the progress of those from month to month.
Well, you got, just let me know. I'll see if I can do some legwork for us.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Howard on TLN report? Okay. Then next item would be threat assessment reports. Threat assessments were provided in your packet, and majority of those closed. Looks like that there may be one that's open, but that was over a month ago when that was reported. So hopefully next month we'll see that that's fallen off the list and has been closed. Then we get into next item is our personnel reports, and you see that November we had 107 applicants, of which 14 were interviewed and 7 were hired. Per Mr. Drumbarger, this was a time where a lot of those are substitutes positions, so thankful that we have interest there. But that's probably one of the reasons why you don't see a lot of hires for that large number of people putting in for requests for substitutes. Obviously, we can only hire only need so many for the district, but glad that there is interest there. How long did those applications stay active for?
Jennifer's here right now. I mean, we've started using this system in the past year and a half, so they're all existing in the system at this point. I don't think we've even purged any of those out at this point, but Ms. Rigsby would have to speak to that.
So would that be a cumulative number?
Yes, I mean, those that we've received in the past year and a half since we've been part of My Smart Hire, My Benefits Channel package are still there.
Okay, all right. So,
Mr. Chairman, one thing I noticed on there was one individual who was hired on the 1st and then terminated on the 15th. What was happening there? Is that just a not a good fit? Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
It's probably not best to speak to personnel issues in this setting, but I could speak to that privately.
Totally
But
understand.
okay. All right. Any other questions for personnel? So we saw the applicants, and it's good that we do have people interested in applying. We see the personnel changes that were made, the new hires and transfers, and along with the terminations. And that's for informational purposes for you as board members. Then we get into a period where policy that we have to approve insurance carriers, and with some of the benefits and other things that are offered, health and dental and vision. And then our student insurance. There's no change to these providers. We're just renewing them again for the next year. So and this would be from July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024. So this is actually providers that will go into effect next fiscal year. So that gives you a list of those that we'll be proposing to approve for next year. Did I get that correct?
those are actually the carriers
I'm
in
sorry.
place right now, and we intend to keep those moving forward. It's a little out of sequence with the calendar year, but it is in sequence with the fiscal year in which we see, the calendar year in which we'll see changes in rates that usually happen around January 1st. If we can look at that, or the board can look at that as far as when this is approved, and we can move this towards maybe June, so it's approved again for the following year. But where it fell in the current calendar of when the board sees this, it was in December. So it's a little out of sequence, but nothing has changed from last year, and we don't intend to change. Don't foresee any change moving into next year, but the board may want to consider when they consider approving this at a different time.
All right, and I apologize for that. My looking at that 2024 had me thinking of next fiscal year. So thanks for bringing that up. So basically, we're approving for a calendar year, and we may wish to consider making this approval later in 2024, so we can kind of get it in sync with all our other approvals. But this is no change on the insurance carriers. Then we also need to approve the employees' choices physician. Was there any change to that? Was there one?
Yes, we've added Dr. Jane is now, along with Dr. Webb and Dr. Drake, who were previously on that list.
Okay. So Dr. Jane would be an addition. That would give us 3, Dr. Jane, Dr. Webb, and Dr. Drake as employees' choice of physician that we would approve. So that be the district physicians that the employees could choose from that would be workman's comp, correct?
Yes.
For workman's predominantly workman's comp issues. Then Stellar Therapy Services, that was what I mentioned earlier. This is a company that will actually do the filing of Medicare claims that we are not filing even when we perform, our school nurses perform Medicare eligible services. So this company will actually come in and do that filing for us. That would create a reimbursement for us for those services that we're not getting now. So it is a Medicaid reimbursement program, and for our district. So one thing that we would be adding that could go back into our funds, help support that program. Any questions of that?
I'd like to make a note there that they'll come in and train our coordinated school health supervisors, but they're not coming into our schools. These are services we're already performing. We will send them the list of the services we perform, and then they will bill reimbursements for us. So it's not people coming into our buildings. It's just we're going to get credit for services that we're already providing.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. That's I think that's benefit for our district. Next is our 2024-2025 school calendar. That was draft was provided to you for review, and with approval of that will be setting our start dates for next school year, and along with the holidays, times off, and things of that nature. Any questions on that calendar? Okay. If not, we'll move on to the next item, and that's, as mentioned, the memorandum of understanding with Van Buren County, where we are providing training for them, entry-level bus driver training for Van Buren County schools, and that's something that has been going on for a while. Now we just need to renew this MOU.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have had an existing agreement like this in the past. They have a new director coming on board, and so that was the need for a new signed agreement. So nothing has changed in the arrangement.
Okay, then, and that takes us down to next two items, which is surplus items sale. This is coming from school nutrition. Have various kitchen equipment that is asked to be in surplus and be eliminated from our inventory. So any questions on that? Those items would then go through Gov Deals to be properly surplused. Oven, stove, double stack oven, steamer. So things, if anybody wanted to update their kitchen with some high-powered equipment, that probably will be going on Gov Deals if we approve that. Then the
Mr. Young?
Yes, ma'am.
Does none of the other schools need any of this equipment?
No, according to the nutrition supervisor, they've updated those as well, so this is just obsolete equipment at this point. So
And the money will go toward what?
it goes back to school nutrition,
Back
the
to
school
school.
nutrition program.
Okay.
All right, then the last item is the community eligibility provision that we are going to be funding, that will provide funding for free breakfast and lunch.
Yes.
Breakfast and lunch at the high school. So that's something that wasn't in place, but now we have, we've been able to identify and receive funds to allow that to take place. So glad that will go into effect. If you want to provide some more detail on that, that'd be.
So the change all along is that the way that students are coded in our student information system, we weren't allowed to code them in a way that allowed for the high school students to participate in the free lunch program. So it's always been a clerical situation that we couldn't by law adjust. So with the new TISA funding, it provided new ways for us to claim our students. And so when we went into the SIS and claimed them with different codes, it made them eligible now. So now our high school students are eligible for the same benefits that all of our K-8 students have had.
That's wonderful.
Why couldn't we have done that in 2019? That would have saved me a lot of money.
Pesky laws.
Or reimburse me for all three of mine.
Kill each other, house and home.
Yeah, I got
All
some
right.
too.
All right, so that takes care of all the items that will be in our consent agenda for this evening. Again, the only recommendation I'm going to make is that we just pull the use of school facilities fee schedule out, put that in new business so we can address that as a separate line item. And then we'll address that in new business, so that way we can go on and make motion to put that in effect, cover us immediately. Okay. All right. Any other questions, comments?
Will you address the school budget calendar?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Will we do that in the regular meeting, or do you want to do it now?
Yeah, we can do that now. Yeah,
Completely up to you. I just didn't
yeah.
want it to slip by you if needed.
That's correct. All right. So.
Is that part of our consent agenda?
It is not. It's
It's not?
part in new
It's
business.
in new business, yeah.
It was just added to your packet today.
I don't even see it.
Yeah. So, this is agenda item 10. You know, one of the things that it always gets a little cumbersome towards the end of the school year when we need to try to start putting budgets together and going through that process with our work schedules and whatnot. So wanted to go on and just and put this budget calendar together so that way we all know when that budgeting process starts. And so as you can see, that was provided. The supervisors, our director and our Mr. Markham, they're going to start the process of budget and personnel discussions in the beginning of April. It'd be April 2nd. And they'll take some time to go through that first couple of days in April, with the intent for them to put a budget together and then us be able to review that. And the date I have down there is May 28th. That would be a Tuesday. So we would plan to meet on May 28th to as a work session to review the budget, the proposed budget. and then follow that up on May the 30th with a special called board meeting for adoption, because we will have to adopt the budget and then send that over to the county commission, because our portion of this, our portion is contributes to what the county has to pass, and so that should give them time to review it. If they have any questions, they can come back to us, but should give them time to get their budget in place and adopt for adoption on June 17th. So it's pretty, it's in line with what we've done in the past. All I'm trying to do is, with this calendar, putting it together, is just give us the opportunity to go on and set our schedules for those dates, so that way we're not give everybody a heads up before we start planning other things.
Mr. Chairman, I was just looking there, 6-3, is that something new with the county budget committee? They're gonna come in and we'll go, is that something new that we ever done that before?
Yeah, so that's just the the county budget committee that formally approves all the budgets and sends it to the county commission. So the school budget will be part of the other budgets that come to the committee that night.
So will they come to us and they will go over that?
It's a county budget committee meeting.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
So that new business item have there, so we can adopt that, and so that way we'll know when we're scheduled. I think we could add that to our website, giving public notice on that, so that way it's properly publicized to the community when those things will be taking place.
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, may I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
These meetings open to anyone on the board? Anyone in the public may attend?
Yes, certainly ours are, and Mr. Markham saying they are from the county side as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Mr. Chairman, you stated the 28th and 30th of May would be those.
Yes, sir. So that should be a Tuesday and a Thursday.
So that's Memorial Day.
It's the day after Memorial Day. Correct. And
I think a lot of people will be gone that week.
well, that's a point of discussion, we need to have. Obviously, if we do it sooner, we may not have the opportunity to get all the information in. But yes, I mean, that's the reason why we want to bring that up.
I may just have to plan around it.
Yeah.
It's on the board's, if I may, it's on the board's calendar to get this approved tonight, to give you a framework. It's certainly editable at some point, amendable at some point if the board chose to change a date at some point. But we do need to get it on the calendar for the county commission standpoint in order to make sure that our budget gets approved.
It's the Tuesday after Memorial Day.
Yeah, the next week, yeah.
No, it's the day after Memorial Day.
I'm off a day. Okay, wait, okay.
Okay. So that'll be coming up in new business item. All right. So any other questions? Okay. Well, if not, we'll adjourn our committee meeting and be prepared for our regular board meeting at 6 o'clock. All right, this time I'd like to call the December 14th, 2023 meeting of the White County Board of Education to order. This time, would you please rise, and Mr. Max Simmons will be leading us in the pledge. I'm sorry, Mr. Jason McDonald. I'm sorry. And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May be seated. Apologize for that.
I was ready.
Mr. Simmons was ready, and I appreciate his. Mr. Simmons was asked to participate later in the meeting, so I had him on my mind. Appreciate that. Thank you for everyone that's out tonight. Appreciate your coming. Appreciate your interest in the White County School District. I thank Ms. Hicks and the staff here at Central at Cassville for hosting us tonight, and appreciate your accommodations as we get to come out and tour the schools of our district. Review of tonight's meeting. We have a full agenda item. Agenda set tonight with the first item being the director's contract renewal. That per policy, that is the first actionable item on this agenda. Our policies allow for public comment in per policy 1404. Tonight there has been 2 sign-up sheets, one for the director's contract and then one for other agenda items, and those forms were presented, made available for tonight's meeting. So with that being said, this time we'll go into our disclosure of conflicts of interest. If there's any board member that has a conflict of interest of the proposed agenda, please let it be known by now.
Mr. Chairman, as I do each and every meeting, want to state that my wife is a educator in the White County school system. The opinions that you hear tonight and the votes that you hear tonight are strictly of my own and in the best interest of all students, faculty, staff of White County schools.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald.
Mr. Chairman, I will state the same as Mr. McDonald.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hickey.
Mr. Chairman, I do the same also.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Howard.
Mr. Chairman, I'd
yes.
like to make a comment as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Recently, I've been made aware of some social media comments that imply that I am living outside of my voting district. I am in the process of actually building a home, which is outside of the area that I represent, although I have not moved yet. And I've been very transparent and honest about this, and so although no one has actually came and asked me if I have moved, but I assure you I've not been dishonest in any way, and I have the best interest of the children in this school system. If anybody has any questions or comments, I'd be more than glad to see me afterwards.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Haston. So let it be known in the minutes, Ms. Sims, the members that stated recognized spouse working in the district, and also Ms. Haston pointing that she is a resident of District 1. So any other disclosures that need to be made? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to the next agenda item, and that is the approval for the agenda for this meeting. So board members, you've had a chance to look at the agenda for tonight, and if there's no objections or changes, we will proceed with a motion for approval.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. McDonald. Have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hickey. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item is Director's Contract Renewal. As I mentioned, this is the first actionable item on our agenda, and per policy, we would take that up first. The Director exercised his right to enter into a contract renewal discussions during our October 19th, 2023 board meeting. The contract in effect states that the board may renew the terms of the contract at any time with the concurrence of the Director. Taking up this matter now is within the guidelines of the existing contract and will allow time for both parties to prepare for an orderly transition should the contract not be renewed. The proposed contract was posted for public viewing on the White County school website at whitecoastschools.net on November 20th. Link was provided to the school board meeting schedule for the December 2023 meeting. This meets statutory requirements for public viewing period of 15 days prior to consideration. Board Policy 5800 states that the Director of Schools shall be the Chief Executive Officer of the school system and shall have, under the direction of the Board, general supervision of all the public schools, personnel, and departments of the school system. The Director is responsible for the management of the schools under the Board's policy and is accountable to the Board. The Director, at his or her discretion, may delegate any of his or her duties to other school personnel. Tonight's agenda is not an evaluation of our Director. Tonight, the Board is considering whether or not to review our contract with Mr. Drombarger to serve in the position as described in Board Policy 5800. So the agenda item for this matter will include 3 parts. Part 1, the public will be given an opportunity to comment first per Public Comment Policy 1404. So how that will work, the chair will first recognize individuals who have given proper notice to the central office requesting to comment. Next, the chair will recognize those who have signed in on our request to speak form that was available prior to the meeting being called to order. Per Policy 1404, individuals speaking to the board shall address remarks to the chair and may direct questions to individual board members or staff members only upon the approval of the chair. Each person speaking shall state his or her name and the subject of the presentation. The chair shall have the authority to terminate any remarks to individuals who violate state law or do not adhere to board rules. After public comment, the chair will then recognize the director, and he will be allowed to address the board. Then after hearing from our director, we will have board discussion. Each board member will be given the opportunity to speak prior to the chair entertaining a motion. After board members have been given the opportunity to speak, at that time, the chair will call for a motion for renewal. So in order to conduct an orderly meeting, I ask that the audience refrain from expressions of approval or disapproval during the comments in order that everyone in the audience can hear our speakers. So at this time, I would like to recognize Ms. Jamie Winnett for public comment. And Mr. Simmons will be keeper of the clock. And as I stated, each person wishing to speak will have 5 minutes.
So before you get me on my time clock, I actually have something I'm handing out. And Sabrina, can you go ahead and hand those out, please?
Ms. Winnett, this will count on your time, so please be efficient.
When I'm handing this out?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, this is the deposition Kurt Drombarger gave in regard to the child abuse case at Woodland Park Elementary School, dated March 11th, 2022. And I am so sorry, Tracy. Pardon me, ma'am. And so we're actually going to go back to that here in a second. And Sabrina is passing that out as well, because I want everybody in the audience to get it. So I'm going to start out by quoting the great Ben Shapiro. Facts don't care about your feelings. So as a business owner, I make business decisions based on facts. So let's put the facts out there, and you base your decision on renewing his contract based on facts. In fact, there is a trial that is set to begin in January 2024 regarding a special needs, nonverbal, autistic children being subjected to abuse and neglect at Woodland Park Elementary School. Fact, people have been fired that worked in the school system for standing up and reporting abuse and neglect. Fact, the teacher that did such abuse was hired by Kurt Drombarger after a background check was completed that showed a conviction of assault. Kurt Drombarger has stated that he wanted to give her another chance, which resulted in abuse and neglect. The teacher was never fired. The county continued to pay her for the remainder of the school year while she was on leave. Fact, recently the school had hired a third-party company with ABA technicians to provide therapy for children with disabilities. This particular technician spewed anti-American hatred on social media. As someone who works with children, you are held to a higher standard. Fact, Kurt Drombarger has made jobs available in the school system and central office for his family, stating to this board that he does not need their opinion. He is the only one that hires and fires. Fact, White County teachers that are well qualified and available to hire are being bypassed for out-of-town hirees. Fact, bullying is taking place in White County schools and is not being adequately addressed. Fact, a top-ranked teacher was fired recently for refusing a contract that placed her students in jeopardy of sexual abuse. Fact, White County teachers worked 6 weeks this year before they received their contracts. However, he wants his contract reviewed 6 months early. Fact, the new Finley school was originally estimated approximately $20 million and has far exceeded that budget due to a leaky roof, faulty concrete work, and gym problems. Fact, sexual abuse have been plaguing the schools recently. Fact, in the 5-year plan, there's a plan to build on classrooms at Doyle with inadequate space that will cost the taxpayers a minimum of $3 to $5 million. All right, let's go to the deposition, since I am held on time here. So we'll start out, and I've highlighted this for the board. Question, okay, as part of your hiring policies and practices, do you run any type of background check on prospective teachers? Answer, yes, we do a TBI and background check on all employees, and we do a DCS background check on all employees. Question, do you recall whether a background check was performed on Mrs. Azahir? Yes, or answer, yes. Question, what did it reveal? Answer, it revealed no DCS referral. It did reveal a misdemeanor for assault 10 years prior, over 10 years prior to her employment with us. Question, on the date Ms. Azahir was hired, would she have been hired by Dr. Thompson or the head of, whoever the head was at the time? Answer, she was hired by me. Question, did you discuss the matter with the prosecuting attorneys or arresting officers? Answer, no. Question, did you obtain a copy of the warrant or charging instruments? Answer, no. Question, did you obtain a copy of the indictment, if any indictment was made? Answer, no. The only information I had on that was the TBI report. Question, and I have pulled TBI reports all the time, and they don't contain factual backgrounds. Did you make any investigation or come to the possession of any facts as to when she did that resulted in the charge of conviction? Answer, other than the conversation that I had with her to explain that, no. Question, all right, let's go back here. As a result of your investigation, what action, if any, did White County Board of Education take regarding to the appointment of Ms. Azahir? Answer, she was at the time of allegations come forth. She actually had gone on a leave, a maternity leave at that point, and so we kept her on leave at that point. Obviously, she was suspended during the time of the investigation, and then when all the investigations were over, she was reinstated with back pay, excluding, I believe, there was a short suspension that she endured as well, just a matter of days. I don't remember exactly. I would have to look and see, but I think she was on a 3 to 5 day suspension overall based on some of the allegations that were brought forth. Question, to the best of your recollection, what did Ms. Azahir say that the facts supporting her assault conviction? In other words, what did she say till you happened? Answer, to the best of my recollection, is that she had an altercation while in college with the same age individual in which they got into a physical altercation, and both of them were arrested, and it had nothing to do with students or school-aged children. Question, but you did not verify that with any law enforcement agency? Answer, no. Question, or the prosecutor's office, you didn't verify those, her story with anybody, right? Answer, no, I did not. Question, so as you sit here today and you don't know whether she assaulted a child.
Ms. Winnick, that's your time. Thank you.
I've got 2
Thank
more.
you. I'm sorry, Ms.
You let
Winnick.
people brag on Kurt
5 minutes.
Dornberger. I've got one more thing.
Ms.
I know
Winnick.
from DCS report that she didn't have any flags as far as being abusive, but you don't know personally, and that is correct.
All right, so I want to just make it clear with all of our speakers. Please be advised that you've been notified. I'm going to give you 5 minutes per policy, okay? So please ask you to be efficient in your comments and your presentation, so that way we can make sure that we hear you and don't have to run into a situation where we have to inadvertently cut you off. Thank you, Ms. Winnick, for sharing that. Next on the sign-up sheet, recognize Mr. Jerry Kelsey from District 5. Mr. Kelsey. All right, Mr. Kelsey, your time is good.
Okay, what I'm going to discuss with, and I've sent an email to all you board members, is contract extension. In the next 18 months, there's a lot of things going to happen in this county. One, as already mentioned, really the director of schools in the county is going to be on trial. We need to see how that plays out. We've got 5 school board seats up for election this coming year, which that could change the whole complex of the school board. Also, there's an opinion has been sent, a request to the Attorney General to see if school board members with spouses in the school system can vote on contracts for the director of schools and/or raises. So I asked you to table all this until we get that opinion back.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kelsey. All right. Next, and I want to need some clarification. Ms. Webb, Moni Webb?
Yes?
You signed down, you have put your name down on both sign-up sheets. I'm going to assume that you're wanting to speak on the director's contract?
Correct.
Okay, all right. Then I'm going to take you off the next ones, the other.
Well, it's a mixture of both.
I'm sorry?
It's a mixture of both, so that's why I'm on both, so.
Okay, you didn't put anything down on the agenda item. Is, I'm sorry?
I signed up on both.
Okay, so on the item that is not related to the director's contract, what is the other item that you wish to speak on? Because we're going to cover director stuff here, and then if there's any.
Concerns going on here in the schools.
Okay, is it on our agenda?
I don't know.
Okay, well, we're going to stick with the agenda items for tonight.
It's funny, but I don't know. That's very inappropriate.
Okay. You can speak to the director's contract now, okay? And so I'll recognize you for that. I just want to make sure, because you did not put anything down on the other agenda item that you wanted to speak on, and so.
My apologies, I just thought I could sign on both because it's kind of combined.
No, ma'am, we're just talking about direction. So I'm recognizing you now. Give you, when Ms. Simmons, when she gets to the podium, we'll allow her her 5 minutes.
Please let me know when our time has started.
It is started.
Hello, respected board members. I come to you today with concerns as a taxpayer, a mother, a grandmother to grandchildren that I hope will be attending White County schools if there is a satisfactory change within our school system one day. I have compiled a list of private messages and information from parents, teachers, former teachers, and community members. There are teachers who have asked to stay anonymous for fear of their job being in jeopardy of loss by firing. Others are members in the community that are very private and do not feel comfortable with possibly going against friends and neighbors. There are statements made of public knowledge and school board meetings. My objective here is not to bully. Otherwise, I would be doing exactly what the students and teachers feel are being done to them. I ask that you put your personal feelings aside and hear not only myself, but from some of the community of White County and what they are feeling. A lot of us want change. We want total and complete transparency and foremost honesty. Unfortunately, it does not feel this way. Our tax dollars are being used shamelessly on buildings that have outrageous price tags, and children are being harmed at an alarming rate in our schools without public or parental knowledge until it is too late. I also have questions and information that I would like answered, as in, I would like to know where my 50 cents on each dollar that goes to public schools is going. I would like itemized records of exactly where the money is going and how many people have bid on jobs, along with their contact information, how much they bid for these jobs, and others that bid on the same contracts as well. I would like individuals who think for themselves, that speak to their district residents about concerns, and who vote according to their district. What I do not want are yes sirs. I do not want yes sirs or anyone who owes me, you're my best friend, my vacation partner, etc. I want godly men and women of faith to do as God has called them to do. If you do not believe in God, then I want men and women who have morals and standards, and that should go for both those with or without faith in God. What you read in the emails that I have sent all of you are the things that would be considered gossip by God's standards. So I have come to be about my Father's business, by no longer letting these things be gossip, which is in darkness, but to bring it to light, so that it no longer remains there. I want to shed light to you, board members, of what your own in-district families are talking about. I asked for clarification from the community and those who have had personal experiences. If anyone I have spoken of is incorrect, I will gladly humble myself and correct it if whomever I receive their testimony from I misunderstood. I would like to see leadership in the director to step up and stop bullying, like what didn't take place at the last board meeting towards Mr. Howard. Bullying that was specifically directed towards him and without a leader of the board to stop it immediately. It was completely unfortunate and unfair. And when he asked who are my accusers, no one had an answer. There were none because they gave no answer to his question. This reminded me of Jesus when he asked, "Where are my accusers?" Moving along, I would like to know why Mr. Dromberger left his position at First Baptist Church in Sparta, as we should all want to know. Previous work history can tell us a lot of who works for us currently. Lastly, I'd like to ask all the board members to recluse themselves from the vote to renew Mr. Dromberger's contract on the basis of nepotism, as it is my understanding that most of the board members have spouses or possibly children that work for the school system as teachers. Here is the meaning of nepotism. Favoritism granted to relatives or close friends without regard to their merit. Nepotism usually takes the form of employing relatives or appointing them to high office. I also request that Ms. Hastings recluse herself out of honor, knowing she will not be in district much longer, or if she is no longer in district currently, but only by home ownership, but not physically living in the home. If so, that any and all her decisions be redeemed null and void. There are attachments in your emails regarding employment of Mrs. Dromberger, the director's wife, under the Central District. And based on her being employed, in and itself is grounds for Mr. Dromberger's termination that I would like for you to consider. This is what I'm speaking of when it comes to honesty is the key of a wonderful school system. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Webb. All right, next on our agenda, on our sign-up sheet, I'd like to recognize Mr. Mark Farley from voting district number 3. Mr. Farley?
Thank you. I'll try to be brief, and I want to apologize up front that I'm going to speak and I have to leave. I've got a church commitment I've got to get to, and I apologize for that. I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to you tonight, and I come here representing a nonprofit, College Advisory Partnership. And we're an organization that has a mission of trying to further the educational opportunities outside of K-12, more of the higher education opportunities across White County. And I bring that up because I've had the honor of serving with Kurt. He and myself and a couple more gentlemen, and I think one lady, are founding members of that organization. And I just want to commend his willingness to look beyond just his day-to-day job and realize that as the director of schools, he provides a leadership role for White County. I appreciate the effort he's done and the leadership that he's provided. And I also take just a second to appreciate the board. For years, you have been supportive of TCAPS, or the TCATs having programs in our vocational schools. You've been supportive of the Montlow location, and we're very thankful for that because we realize that, you know, K-12 education, that high school degree diploma is essential, but, you know, in our today's economy, you've got to think beyond that. Our students need to be thinking about higher education opportunities, and I appreciate his leadership in that. I want to take just a second and say, I've sat in your seat. I had the honor of being the 3rd District School Board member for 12 years. And I was thinking today about my time on the school board. And probably the most important decision I made while I was a school board member was to hire the first appointed director of school, Dottie Haley. You know, and I know in hindsight you're going to look back and you're going to say, well, Mr. Haley, he was elected. You know, it was a no given. It was a given that he would become the first director of schools. But at that day and time, there were voices in the community that were calling school board members saying we needed a change, that he wasn't the right person for the job. Now, I think looking back, history shows us that that was the right choice, to hire him, to put him in place, and not only to hire him that first time, but to renew his contract a couple more times after that. You know, listen, I want to say this about Mr. Dromberger. And tonight I realize that this is your decision. People of White County have entrusted you to make this decision. I respect that. But I'd ask you to think about three things as you consider that tonight. First thing I want you to think about is the fact that we've got a good school system. We've got a system here, a school system that this community respects and is proud of. That happens because we have good teachers, happens because we've got good support staff, happens because we've got good administrators, we've got a great school board, and we've got a great director of schools. It takes all of those components to make a great school system, and we've got that here in White County. Second thing I want to say is he makes tough decisions. He provides leadership. And I respect that there's other opinions here tonight. But that tells me that he's made decisions that he knew were not popular in the public eye. You have to respect that. In his position, we may not always know all the information he's dealing with. I know there's some things been read tonight. That's not the whole story. We never know the whole story. And I respect the fact that he's made tough decisions even when the public didn't understand why he was making those decisions. The last thing I want to say, and I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to ease on, Mr. Dornberger is a consistent and principled man. And that's important. You know where he stands. You may not agree with him. You may have a different point of view, and I understand that. I never did always agree with Donnie Haley. I didn't always tell him that. You know, if you remember Donnie Haley. But I didn't always agree with him. But I respect him because I knew where he stood, and I knew why he was making the decisions he was making. I feel like Mr. Dornberger does the same thing. We may not always understand it, but he's doing it out of principle, and he's doing it because he thinks that's the best thing for the White County School Board. I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight, and I would ask that you renew his contract for another 4 years, or however long the contract would be for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Farley. All right, next on the director's contract, I'd like to recognize Mr. Lane Ward.
Good evening, Mr. Young. Good evening, board members. Mr. Young, I've got a copy of my comments, if I could share that with the board members.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Dear members of the board, I want to thank you for your service to White County Schools. Your leadership and that of those who preceded you attracted my wife and I to this school district. I truly appreciate the recent solicitation for feedback regarding Mr. Dornberger's contract renewal from 2 board members, and I'm eager to provide my perspective publicly, that of a 28-year teaching veteran, which includes 17 years as an educational leader. Although it's difficult for me to strip away 40 years of friendship with Mr. Dornberger, I do believe I can make unbiased observations using my knowledge of the realities of being an educational leader in our current day. In regards to my feedback of Mr. Dornberger, I would like to focus on his leadership and his personal integrity. In a recent article from the 74 America's Educational News Source magazine, a study showed a quarter of America's school superintendents plan to leave their post imminently. A quarter. Many in the education field are calling this phenomenon the big quit. One superintendent wrote, and this is a quote, "The role of the superintendent has become a punching bag, and attacks are personal. It's a dark and sad time for superintendents," end quote. Unfortunately, this has been the reality for Mr. Dornberger as of late. Unfair and uninformed criticism has led to a degree of contention that's counterproductive for White County schools. It's my desire that our school board members recognize the value of Mr. Dornberger and act according as they consider the renewal of his contract. Under Mr. Dornberger's leadership, White County schools have performed at a level that many school districts envy. I know this for a fact. The academic success of our district is well documented. Academic success requires the vision of a leader, efficient utilization of resources, clear communication to all stakeholders, the support of faculty and staff, a plan for continuous improvement, and integrity at all levels. Mr. Dornberger has been the cornerstone of all of these efforts. The evidence is clearly seen in the academic performance of our school system. Let me remind you that many districts struggle to find leadership that is consistent, capable, and ethical. To this point, White County Schools has not experienced this difficulty. We could also discuss Mr. Dornberger's leadership through the pandemic, his efforts to improve pay for certified and non-certified faculty and staff, his role in implementing a series of improvements to existing buildings, the construction of a new Finley Elementary School, and wide-ranging, this one's important, wide-ranging improvements to the safety of our schools, including the placement of school resource officers in each building, phenomenal. And many districts are still trying to catch us on that. Also be reminded of White County's designation as a Level 5 school district for academic performance on multiple occasions. Mr. Grunbarger's personal integrity is evident to anyone who is knowledgeable about the realities of educational leadership. It's important that all of those who play a role in assessing Mr. Grunbarger's performance acknowledge that controversy and conflict are unavoidable aspects of district leadership. There will be controversy and conflict regardless of who sets or serves as in the position of director of schools. It's the director's job to manage conflict and controversy when it arises with integrity, open communication, consistency, and compassion. White County Schools has a director in Kurt Grunbarger who has demonstrated time and time again all of these qualities. He builds teams, mentors leaders, does not run from problems. He is quick to assess situations and decisive when determining appropriate action. Furthermore, Mr. Grunbarger solicits, considers, and acts upon the feedback of others. White County's Director of Schools, Kurt Grunbarger, is well respected by other educational leaders throughout the Upper Cumberland and across the state. Something else I know from experience. He has the longest tenure of any current director of schools in the Upper Cumberland region. Those that know best the challenges of educational leadership respect Mr. Grunbarger both as a professional and a person. In closing, I want to remind you that Mr. Grunbarger's values reflect the community he serves. If you desire for White County Schools to have a director with a proven track record of successful leadership, the heart of a servant, the desire to grow professionally and personally, the ability to manage conflict.
Thank you, Mr. Ward.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ward. Next is, and I apologize because I'm not sure if I can recognize his last name, but is it a Bobby?
Duncan.
I'm sorry, Miss Duncan. I should have known that. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
I said it's probably my handwriting.
No, I see it now. I apologize. But I'd like this time to recognize you to speak to the board.
I'm representing, this is Bobby Duncan, District 6, I believe, and I'm representing all the parents that do not have their squirrels in a row and, you know, all kinds of stuff going on all day. And I will make this quick because I do have somewhere else I have to go. This is not a personal promotion or attack against Mr. Grunbarger. This is about the position of superintendent, and it doesn't matter today, 4 years from now, 10 years from now, or 20 years from now. If your job is to set rules and follow rules for our county and all the things and the people in the hiring, then it is your position to do so. And there'll be a lot of questions and things like that. But then the other thing is no matter who is in that position or any of your positions, the abuse of authority and your ability to change and adjust rules whenever you want to. I was an advocate against closing Central View School. It's been closed and that's fine, and you know, we got to speak our piece and things like that. There's a lot of other things going on in the community that I know you're not happy about and that you didn't do personally, but it still needs to be addressed. And so the question that everybody is asking is, why are we renewing this early? What is the deal with early renewal? The renewal is going to happen. We all get that. We know that. That's a scheduled process. Why is it being early? That is the question that the community wants to know, and that is the question that I ask. And thank you for your time, and thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Duncan. Next, I'd like to recognize Mr. Keith Brown.
Board members, good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. Mr. Lee, thank you as well. My name is Keith Brown, and I have the distinct honor, and I emphasize that word honor, to be a teacher at the White County High School. And I have good news to share. Today, one of our kids not only got into Vanderbilt University, but got a full ride scholarship to Vanderbilt University. That's awesome. One of our kids, James Sievers. Yeah. So would you join me? I'd like to applaud him. Anyway, I've been in education for 28 years, okay, both at the high school level and, oh my gosh, 17 years in college, right? And I can tell you, being a former administrator as well, all right, that leaders lead by omission or commission, okay? And what that means is, if a leader is good, they hire great people, and those people do the work, and all that is directed for kids, yes? On the other hand, if you have bad leaders, they can screw that up dramatically, and the kids will pick up on that. I'm here to tell you, Mr. D leads by a commission. Mr. D knows what he's doing. This is a great district because we have a great superintendent. We also have a strong school board. And in this day and time where superintendents are leaving in droves, I'll tell you where they're going. They're going to work for private organizations to be consultants and make six-digit salaries, right? Mr. D has no interest in that. He's here for one reason. He loves our kids. And in my unfortunate education experience, what I mean by that is I've served in many districts where the director could care less about the kids and certainly didn't care about if the school system was doing well or not. They were just looking to jump to their next job. Kurt, Mr. D, is not interested in that. There are a lot of, the state has pursued him. There are consulting firms that have actually pursued him, and he has said no to all of it for one simple reason. He loves our kids, and he puts our kids in the #1 position. And good teachers are attracted to that. Teachers want to work for somebody who loves kids. And I'm in a place just like that here. This is my 5th year at White County, and I could not be more honored and more satisfied for being here. And that has a lot to do with Mr. D's leadership. It also has a lot to do with the board's leadership. So thank all of you for that. And I'll close with just one remark. I highly suggest you renew the contract of Mr. D. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Okay, next request to be recognized is Tiffany Grote. Tiffany Grote in District 1.
Good evening, everybody. My kids attend Woodland Park. I am a parent. I have not had the fortunate pleasure of meeting you face to face, but I'm here to say that, like, due to things that are happening in that school, it makes me question the leadership all the way from the top. It is not in a good place. Last year, I had one of my children who does have a disability, who was bullied by a teacher, and it was essentially swept under the rug. For me as a parent, it makes me question whether or not the leadership from the top to the bottom actually communicates, and I don't see that. So for that reason, I would say let's not renew this contract. Let's take a second, review where we're really at as a county for education.
Thank you. Next on the sign up is Farrah Griffith. Farrah is voting District 6, and she's speaking on behalf of Central Office. So, Ms. Griffith, recognize you at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Farrah Griffith. I'm a 25-year educator. I've been a teacher, a coach, a school administrator, and a supervisor. I was proud to get the opportunity to return home to Sparta to work 8 years ago under the direction of Mr. Kurt Drombarker. As a leader, Mr. D came in with innovative ideas to move our district forward. He arrived with a motto: love kids, work hard, and pursue excellence. It's been my experience in these last 7.5 years that he's done just that. All decisions and ideas that he has are student-centered. No matter the situation, he looks first at what's best for kids and his staff and our school system. Working hard, Mr. D works thanklessly and tirelessly to make sure that his people are supported and treated fairly and students are cared for. The running of a school district does have to be looked at as a business, but through a very special lens, and I feel that he's done a tremendous job working with state and local officials to champion on behalf of White County schools. And finally, pursuing excellence. Mr. D works with teachers and administrators to make sure that they're improving. He is always looking for ways to support growth and improvement in our district. He makes sure that he puts himself in places to voice the concerns of White County and the needs that we have to state leaders so that we can have fair and attainable paths to that improvement. I dare say, if you grade him on the job that he's actually doing, he would get very high marks. One thing I quickly learned as a school principal is doing the right thing is not always popular and will be met most certainly with resistance from someone. But that's okay if you're doing the right things. Leadership is not about popularity. Leadership is not about making everyone happy. And we've all learned that we cannot predict human behavior. Leadership of a school district is about making responsible decisions that are in the best interest of all students, and these decisions have to follow laws and mandates and policies and procedures that apply to public schools. Making a decision on extending Mr. D's contract should be based on his job performance as outlined for a school leader in a public school system. Mr. D should not be assessed in terms of the marginal negative community views on public education that originate from those who have negative ideas about public education as a whole. Mr. D cannot be held responsible for the negative views on public education itself. His leadership of White County and our school system has reflected exemplary oversight, accountability, and response to all the challenges he's faced. Despite unfair and frankly untrue comments, he has continued to do his job with grace and humility amidst a storm from a loud minority in our county who have no vested interest in our school district. He has been an effective leader despite lack of sometimes workable support from board members. I've had the pleasure in the last 2 years of working in every school, and I get to be around teachers, which has been a neat opportunity for me. And our teachers are not unhappy. You know, historically, the teachers union in White County has not been active, and you might ask why. That's a testament to the leadership and consideration that's been provided by past and present directors of school. If teachers were unhappy, they would seek that union support. I worked for 17 years in another district under multiple directors of school and multiple school boards. Mr. Drombarger has always been available and approachable. He looks for innovative ways to serve our community as a whole. No job is too big or small for Mr. Drombarger. I stand before you tonight asking that you put personal opinions aside, use the facts of his job performance and 26 years of dedication to the students of White County and extend his contract, and then work with him to implement work with him on the matters at hand to implement policies that can make White County schools the best that it can be. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Griffin. Next on our list, sign-up list, is Ms. Tina Lomax from District 3. Ms. Lomax?
I just wanted to stand before you. I personally have watched this man for 26 years take care of the students in White County. When he was under Gary Sparkman starting out as a student teacher, when I failed as a parent, he stepped up for my children, and I thank you for that. And I had some papers that I was going to read tonight, but I'm not going to go into all that. I have watched this man give of himself way more than any other superintendent has ever given to our county, inside and outside of the school. And I just want you all to extend his contract. He is worthy, and I would love to see the board to work with him, support him, and put your personal opinions of him aside. And Mr. Drombarger, to you, we're behind you. We love you. We thank you for what you've done for White County and the students here.
Thank you.
Especially mine.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Lomax. All right, next on the list is Mr. Brad Walker. Mr. Brad Walker from Voting District 3, I believe.
Mr. Young, Board, I want to thank you for the opportunity to address you today, and I want to thank you for your service to our community. I want to, from a community member, a taxpayer, the husband of a teacher of White County Public School System, the father of 4 sons that are under the care of this school system and education, I would like to just say to you that I would love to ask you to please renew the contract of Kurt Drombarger. As pastor of First Baptist Church in my vocation, I had the privilege also of being the pastor of many teachers, administrators, and other students in our community. And I want to echo some of the sentiments. If you know the communities around us, if you know the communities throughout the nation, you will see the realities that many of them face. And this man has, in incredibly hard circumstances over the last 5 to 7 years, he's demonstrated absolutely principled leadership and leading us through very difficult times in a very toxic environment. And he's done it with incredible grace. I want to just tell you this. I want to clear up something as pastor of Kurt Drombarger and his family. It is one of the hardest things I've ever done is to have to sit down in an office after we meet continually. We pray together. He's one of my greatest friends. And to have to tell him and talk through him about for a time to go to a different church outside of our community because things in our community are so toxic. Not because he was not wanted at our church. In fact, as he's left, we have to try to figure out all the different things that Kurt Drombarger has done behind the scenes and try to figure out how that we can do them. Right? How that he is an absolute humble servant. He loves Jesus. We have a director of schools that is a scholar, that he loves Jesus. He's a Bible-believing, conservative evangelical, and he stands on principles of truth. And we are crucifying him in our community. I want to ask the board to stand behind a man that is fair. Listen, there's a lot of days that me and my kids think he's absolutely wrong on snow days, right? He doesn't get those. There's times he's called me in a gym. I've coached for free for years at one of our elementary schools, never taken a dime. And he's asked me to leave the gym because there's certain rules and principles that certain people can't use the gym at certain times. He said he's asked me as his friend to leave. I had to drive 10 hours back from a revival in Pennsylvania one spring break because there's a rule and a principle that you cannot take a day off for teachers. My wife couldn't take a day off the day after spring break. And we drove 10 hours after a Sunday service to get back here. He's fair. Trust me, he's fair. I've tested the boundaries of that. And I'm here to tell you that there's no finer man that we could have to lead our school system. I think you know this is right, and I'm encouraged the people of our community, the people that are going to come at him are loud. We've got to be louder. Those that support him, it's not perfect. We don't agree with every decision. This is a man who loves this community, loves students, loves teachers, and he is a man of God. And so I want to encourage you to renew his contract.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Okay. So that concludes those wishing to address the board from the public to our public comment section. This time I would yield to Mr. Drombarger, allow him to address the board.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I began my career in White County as a teacher over 26 years ago, and I've dedicated my professional life to serving the students here, and it's been a pleasure and honor to do so. I'd like to say thank you to the school community for allowing me to serve in this role for the past 7+ years, and I also want to thank the school board for their time and consideration of this new contract. You two have a difficult job, and I appreciate your efforts on my behalf and of that of the district. There are no perfect school systems out there, and ours is no exception. With nearly 4,000 students, 600 employees, and thousands of others in those extended families, things will break down at times. Although part of my job is to plan, prepare, and prevent such issues, sometimes problems are unforeseeable. Like all school districts, White County Schools has had its share of misfortune over the years. However, leadership is tested in those times, and through it all, I feel I've displayed poise and professionalism. I've led our district with strength and integrity. I've shown compassion as I've attempted to lead with dignity and respect. Although there have been some negative moments, they certainly do not overshadow the overwhelming successes of our district. I provided a list of accolades and accomplishments in the board materials for your review, and the public can review as well, and I will not read those to you. However, I do wish to point out some of the great things that have taken place during my tenure. While I've been director, we've built a new school and have made significant improvements to every other school in the district. We've added a full-time nurse and school resource officer at every school, and we continue to make major safety enhancements. We continue to improve our academic achievement scores, and White County has consistently been a level 4 or 5 district in academic growth for the last 5 years. We've improved employee pay and benefits significantly and added key positions to improve the educational experience for all students. All the while, we've contributed millions of dollars back into our savings account, and the list goes on. I appreciate those who have come tonight to speak on both sides of the issue. While I have asked no one to speak on my behalf, I sincerely appreciate the support and the kind words for those who have spoken tonight and for the countless citizens I've heard from recently. Thank you. For those of you who are in opposition, while I disagree that everything that was shared negatively about me tonight was factual, I do respect your right to speak. Furthermore, I challenge you to get involved in your local school, regardless of who is in this chair. The focus of all White Countyans should be on our students and our schools, and not the director. I urge everyone to rally around our kids and make that the impetus of your words and your actions. Join a PTO. Volunteer to serve at a school event. We can all make a difference by focusing on what really matters, the students. In closing, I'd like to say that I'm proud of White County Schools. Although not perfect, our district is strong and filled with incredibly talented people who live out my educational motto each day, which is love kids, work hard, and pursue excellence. Tonight, I'm asking the school board for a new contract so I may continue to assist this great work that is happening in our schools. I believe that God has placed me in this role for a reason and for a season. Regardless of when that season ends, I will forever be proud of White County School District and the students, staff, and families within. Thank you all for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Stromberger. All right, so that leads us to board members' discussion. So, board members, we've had the opportunity to hear from the public. We've had the opportunity to hear from Mr. Stromberger. We have had ample time to get feedback from community. We've received emails on the matter, and now it is comes our time to take this matter up. So,
Mr. Young, could I start with the board's comments?
I'm sorry?
Could I start with the board's comments?
So yes, I was getting ready to say that we'll start with board comments, and we'll if you want to volunteer, then I'll recognize volunteers. But I do want everyone to have the opportunity to speak tonight. So, Ms. Stone, since you volunteered, I will recognize you first.
Well, from what I'm hearing, the big issue on this is early. I don't think a lot of people is saying, well, we shouldn't renew the contract. It's why early? And my theory is on this, I'm from the business world. And if you have a contract, some teachers have been in the profession, like you said, 20, 25 years. They should be able to put their resume in the ring and everybody see who's got the most credentials. And of course, Mr. Stromberger should be leading the race because he's had all this time in there. But still, I think everybody should be able to put in for the job. We should interview and make the best man or woman win. And I think also that we've got possibly 5 seats that could change this year. I think that's not setting a good example for people wanting to run for school board. If it's going to be cut and dry, they're going to know who the director is for 4 years, and they're not going to have no input. I think, in my opinion, if we renew, we should renew for a year till the new board comes in and let them have an opinion and say so. I mean, I think that he's doing a fine job, but I just don't think we should renew early, or we should extend it for a year until the new board takes over. And that's my opinion.
Thank you, Ms. Stone. Could I clarify something? I just want I want you, administrators, staff, public to know, when this was brought to attention, and as far as renewal of contract, then as his employer, us as a board, but me as chairman, with regards to addressing those matters, looking at calendar, as I stated earlier, felt that he brought it to our attention, we address it now. That gives both parties the opportunity, if we chose to do something different, if depending on which way the board chooses to go. I don't think it's fair to the district for us to push this off, and so therefore I did not consider that as an early renewal. Even though it's changing the timeline on it, it probably gets us in a better director's contract cycle, so that way this board or any future boards will not have to take up a director's contract at the end of the year when so many activities are taking place, such as budget renewals, hiring, planning for the next school year. So that's the reason, that's the rationale behind that.
Well, would we be having to pay 2 directors from the midway point because the contract will end in December? And I wouldn't think you'd want to change the director position in the middle of the school year.
That would be the board's prerogative when that started.
Yeah.
But as far as that goes, that was the justification on that, Ms. Stone.
I didn't understand the contract ending in December. I just think that would be a terrible time. And
Well,
according to what the contract is, we were supposed to make a decision in April, and I think that's a good time to make it.
It's not, it's in the contract, April is if a renewal is not made by April, then it's automatic termination and there's an automatic non-renewal. So that's the only reason that April's in
Couldn't we
there.
make this decision, and then like renew it for a year or something till the new board comes in? Because why would anybody want to come on the board when there's really no decisions to be made?
Okay, that can be brought up in board, in discussion, okay? And when we get to that point, because obviously the contract is out there, it can be amended, okay? All right, anyone else want to volunteer?
I'll go, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hickey.
I appreciate all that have reached out with concerns and also praise for our director of schools and our school system. I think we all want to achieve the same goal, but I don't think we always agree on how to achieve that. So if I go by the numbers that I've received, as far as with calls and emails, I've received about 80% in favor, about 10% that's kind of on the fence, and about 10% that is against. But pretty much all of them stated there's things that we can improve on. So my biggest deal with this, going through all of it, is the biggest thing that people didn't realize or agree upon is communication. So we also have to realize that there's laws that we have to go by. We have to protect our teachers and our kids, and there's been times that he's done that, and it's we should be appreciative of him protecting those people. So I think we need to come up with a better way as far as doing our evaluation. I think there's been others on the board that have said the way that we do evaluation needs to be updated, and I also agree with that. And we need to put on there these things that people are bringing up. Some of them can be solved. Some of them are things we have to do by policy. Some of them are things we have to do by law. But there are things that we can make better, and that's what we need to put into this new evaluation. So by taking all of my information that I've received, and I do appreciate everyone that I've talked to, either by phone, email, or in person. But yes, I definitely do am in favor of renewal, but I think we need to we need to look at the way that we're going to evaluate that, change that around. And also, at our latest convention, which there's been other board members that was in the same one I was in, by using our Warrior Media, our great communications department that we already have, there's another school system that actually uses that for student, and I know we already do, but they have some ways that have actually taken the load and burden off the director, because if there's an emergency that comes up, he doesn't need to be trying to text us, and he does a great job at letting us know. But I think we'll discuss this at future board meetings, but that would be a great way to have that team on our team for communication in the future. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hickey. Anybody else like to speak?
I would, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
As was stated earlier, I was one of those ones that reached out to every teacher in our district, and I appreciate that. There was about 300 emails that I sent out. I called every principal in our district and spoke with them, had them to send me their school emails. And I want to tell you, I appreciate the teachers that reached out. Of those 302 emails, along with community emails, I received a total of 112 emails back. Not a huge number, but it's a good number. Of those 112, I had 12 that were against renewal of the contract. So that leaves you with 100 people who said that they wanted to renew Mr. Drumbarger's contract. I say that to say this. Every person that said they would renew his contract had told me that, do they agree with every decision he's ever made? Nope, they don't. But they are appreciative of the way that he stands up for the teachers, the staff, the administrators, and the community. There's things that Mr. Drumbarger does outside of the school walls that I have seen serving on the Young Life Board with him. Times that he will drive 7 or 8 hours to take kids to camp, giving of his time and his talents to be able to fund kids to go to camp. So there's things that he does that are exponentially the greatest that he can do. But there's also things that he can improve on. And I think Mr. Hickey stated that one thing. He does a great job with communication for us on Saturday emails to give us an update of the district. But I would also like to see, as Mr. Hickey stated, the use of Warrior Media in a greater extent, so that takes something off of him. And Miss Allen and that group can send out those updates, can get us, if there's something that happens at Woodland Park, we don't need to hear about it from the news. We don't need to hear about it from somewhere else. We need to be at the forefront of that. And I think that's one thing that I would like to see added as the evaluation part of his evaluation every year is just the communication and utilizing the tools that we have here in this district through Warrior Media and through, nobody's ever going to beat Facebook. Nobody's ever going to beat Instagram. You're not going to beat those things. But there's a lot of good in this district. There's a little bad, and I would just say thank you for those that reached out from the community and from the school system administrators. Thank you for being honest, and thank you for not worrying about what people say about you. But thank you for reaching out and letting us know how you feel about your boss. I know teachers have principals that they report to. And those principals report to their supervisor, and those supervisors report to Mr. Drumbarger. So there is a chain of command, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate everything that this school system stands for.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. McDonald.
I'd like to piggyback on Mr. McDonald. You know, me and Jason both reached out to practically all the teachers in the district or all the districts and the principals. And I'm not gonna lie, I was teachers would, I'm very overwhelmed about the many responses that I got back, but there was some teachers that I knew had actually had a little conflict for, and I was surprised at all of their comments, and it was always, have I always agreed with him? Absolutely not. Will I always agree with him? No. But he always is willing to sit down, let's talk about it, we'll move through it, and every one of them told me that he actually put the students before the teachers, but he was always willing to back up the teachers. And I've had several emails of stuff, and people are always saying, well, he's doing stuff outside of the school system, but I wasn't, I guess I just hadn't thought or put any response into asking what, but one of the emails I got back, and I'm not going to read all of what she said, but it opened my eyes a little bit. From taking family meals to fixing flat tires to taking kids' mattresses to buying hotel rooms for families, for making sure they had a place to eat and sleep so they would be able to come to school the next day and be able to have a good education and be able to be there. So I was taken back and surprised by all the stuff that he actually does outside of the school system. But by the response that I've got, I like Jason, I got probably about the same response, and probably 100% or 100 actually was probably yes, and very few that was a no.
Thank you, Ms. Haston. Ms. Fowler?
Yep.
Go ahead.
So I'm going to go off Jason and Diana because I emailed the teachers also. I think I missed the high school, and I apologize if anybody's out there. But I did not count mine. I did get a great response back. I felt like there was positive and there was negative. And as many of you know, I'm having to run this spring. So I also had to get out in the community to get signatures. So that opened the door for a lot of people to ask questions. And the biggest concern that I heard was, why early? And I know what Mr. Young's said to that, but the community does not get that. And I'm not going to say I really understand it either, because, you know, going by this, he wants to end it in, you know, the end of December in 2027. And I'm kind of like Sherry on that. You leave us right there in the middle of the school year, but I'm also, do you know, Bob, are there any other counties around us that do this? Are there other counties that do it starting January 1 and go for 4 years through the end of December?
I don't know if they start on those exact dates. I'm aware that not all districts coincide with the actual school year or the fiscal year, that from a state standpoint, from July 1st to June 31st. So it's at the discretion of the board and the director of the dates that they set up their contracts.
They go with it, okay.
Right.
Now, I do want to say that I have had the pleasure of working with some great women down at, I believe they call it Warrior Academy. Please correct me, because I call it the old Food Line building, because I'm old school. And so, but that is a great program that Mr. D started, and if you haven't had a chance to check it out, I'm going to say check it out, because Sherry went with me the last time, and it's amazing, and those kids will actually truly touch your heart. You know, and I'm not saying everything I've heard is negative, because, you know, like Diana, I've heard that somebody saw him going through town, him and Beverly, with mattresses in the back of their truck. And I do feel like we're grateful to have him. He has done some great things for Air County. You know, like I said, my biggest concern that I have heard is, why early?
Me also.
Okay. All right. Mr. Howard?
School board, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Director, I have feared this moment ever since I walked on this board. But I want to say, first and foremost right here, I love this county. I love our school system. I love our teachers. I love our students, born and raised here. And I want to die here. And I want to see the best for this community. I will leave tonight with a pure heart and clear conscience. And I also guarantee that there's no hatred in my heart like I've been accused of before for making my decisions. I deal on facts and figures. I don't get emotional. I don't get upset. I don't get excited. I may have to raise my voice to be heard sometimes, but that's about all you get from me. So I've sat here for 3 years wondering why in the world there's such a rift, a divide between the community and our teachers. I understand and am convinced by them that they love Mr. D, and I'm proud they do. And I'm convinced that he does a good job in directing, day-to-day business with our school system. I don't know that I've ever got involved whatsoever in day-to-day works, okay? But my question is why the divide right here? And what I have been elected official several different times, and my sole responsibilities are to listen to the community, the people that elected us. There's 7 members sitting right here that have been elected by communities to be their voice. And not disregarding the teachers because, they're part of our community also. But the people that I talk to in the communities feel like they're not being heard, they're not being respected, and they get mad and they get angry. And I fear for repercussions someday down the line if this continues to go. We have, in my evaluation, a serious problem at the leadership level. Not just Mr. D, but this board here too. We're not representing the community as half as well as he's representing the teachers. And I'm proud he is. But there needs to be a balance. And some of the things that I have brought up in the past that I know has made communities mad and upset has not been addressed yet and still been made double down, triple down, compounding problems. And I'm going to start with Central View. A lot of people think that that's just my sole intention right there, but I look at the entire community as our school system. Here's my reason for starting with Central View. If you applied the exact same reason Central View was closed to any school in this system right here, you could close it. You could take away their senior staff. You could not start holding their zoning boundaries accountable. You can start taking away the roads from their zoning right there. And you can suffocate any school in this system right here to death. So allowing Central View being closed unchecked right there puts every school in this system at jeopardy. I don't say that with meanness. And now with the super growth that White County has had, Central View is our best option to reopen. I mean, objectively, instead of adding on or building another school financially. And I still think it should be done. But also ignoring all the reasons and facts that Central View was supposedly closed with save money, SRO officer. Every one of those was debunked by expenditures of $36 million after that in other schools. And I don't want to get into all those details. We've hashed those out. I've showed those to you. But I have brought up Central View still mad. That community's still upset. What can we do to tell them, say, hey, we're going to fix it? That's just been my question. What are we going to do to fix it? Another thing, the evaluation's already been brought up. I've brought up since the very first evaluation, this wasn't fair to the director, okay? And we needed to change it. But it hasn't been changed. And another thing that wasn't fair was y'all threw my evaluation out. No matter how much you disagreed with it and disliked it, that put a target right on the back of the director right there. You should have just said, hey, that one's gone, it's over with, forget it, okay? But what type of a standard does that do for the director when he goes and evaluates teachers? If they see one that they don't like, can they just throw it out? So the school board didn't stand up and do their job and say, hey, it's here, we hate it, let's move on, let's learn from it and grow. When we ran up against the Wit and Wisdom, we had a Christian family come in here, we stonewalled them. I put it on the agenda to have it be brought up, you told me no. What policy is there anywhere that you have the right to tell any school board member he can't add something to the agenda?
Okay. For clarity, I told you, it was in the board meeting. That book was being reviewed per our procedure, it was being reviewed and was going to go up to the next meeting, which it did, and which people were allowed to speak the next meeting. So, again, executive call on that, but knowing what was going on, knowing what needed, not to jump this system. You know, nobody likes to have somebody say, here's the process we're going to follow, and then all of a sudden it changes because somebody else gets involved before it's their time. So just for clarity, that was a decision I made. I'll stand by it, but it's not that it wasn't on the, we didn't discuss it. It just wasn't on the agenda at the time you wanted it, but it was on the agenda.
And for clarity's sake, here's the problem we have, back and forth, okay? It should have been recognized the same time that you brought a specialist in to talk about it also. For fairness' sake, you should have had both of them there at the same time. Okay? Now, let's move on to other issues. These are issues that the community throws up in my face a lot of times that they're mad at me about, and I've not even had a vote on, okay? Innovative School Grant Fund. Our responsibility as school board members is long-range goals, according to Scott Bennett. Long-range goals. We have 3 major things that this school board right here is responsible for. First and foremost is hiring the director. That's the only employee we have, okay? That should be at the top of our list right there. Secondly is listening to the community, okay? What did Scott Bennett say? We are the cogs that makes this work, that keeps the community happy, that keeps the school board system going. You have a breakdown with that cog right there, the whole mechanism stops. And thirdly, our biggest thing is budget. So those 3 things should be the majority of our interest right now. So why don't we do those? I've asked for a budget committee ever since I've been on this. We don't have one. People in the community say, $41.7 million, y'all don't have a budget meeting. You have a work day. We have a work day. But why don't you have a monthly meeting on it? And this last budget right here, $41.7 million, we did not have a single elected official have initial input on that budget right there. We got to vote on it, but we didn't have initial input. And now you come to this issue of daily problems that we've had. I don't want to repeat them, you know, but we had the teacher arrested for rape. We have the cross-dresser. We have the death riding assignment right there. And here's an issue with the death riding assignment right there. We didn't even know about it till the parent came and complained. But you knew about it early, didn't you, Mr. Director?
I don't exactly know when I found out about that.
Okay. So the next month, I asked to put it on the agenda. And I sent Mr. Dronberger an email asking for that, and you flat out denied me.
That's not true.
I've got the email to prove it.
I said we had to discuss it with the executive committee, which I'm not denied anything. I don't have the authority to deny something on the agenda.
That's exactly what I told you. But you said in the email you will not even recommend this to go to the chairman to be put on the agenda. I've got the email.
Yeah.
I'll show it
But
to
I
you.
remember the context of that. You're right. But I remember the context. I just said that I'd have to remember the context of that. I don't deny it being on the agenda, but I said it had to go to the chairman.
They wanted the teacher.
And that's what.
So that's what it was. You wanted to bring the teacher up before that, and that's what I said I wouldn't do. And I still stand by that.
And I still feel like that's what caused the problem right there, is that I did say, Mr. Director, you don't have the authority to stop me from adding something to the agenda.
And I brought it to the chairman.
So, and we've had other requests from me to bring things for the board and was told no. I've asked for people to come and speak before the board, and you told me no.
Who?
Pastor Walker.
I told you, I gave him the opportunity to speak at the time with that item that he wanted to speak on was on the agenda.
So my goal has been on the school board is trying to get the school board to realize there's a lot of things that the community is getting mad at and feel like they don't have any voice in, and that when I bring them up, it looks like I'm the controversial one, I'm the problem one, I'm the one to be fighting against, and teachers hate me, and I can walk by them now and say hi to them, they won't speak to me. Okay? And when I assure you that if this board right here would step up and start doing their responsibility, of talking to the community and working with them, with the community right there, it would be better on them on the front line. Because if this, what my big fear is, if this happens forever and the people feel like they're not being heard, because the majority of the people tonight has said, hey, postpone this. It doesn't need to be renewed tonight. You know, and then, of course, we hear from teachers and staff that they love Mr. D, and I respect every one of them for saying that. I've gotten out of my zone for my questioning here, so here's what I would like to see happen. We need to postpone this. It needs to go back to exactly the way that it was in April. I asked last month, I said, is there any reason that this would help the school system renew this early? And you told me no on every one of them, okay? So this is personal. This is a personal request from Mr. D to have this done earlier. And he could withdraw it right now and stop all this controversy. It's putting teachers at odds with the community, putting board members at odds with each other, and for nothing but a personal reason. And it should be. And it should just be a no-brainer. This should be postponed to next month, or until April right there. And then also, I don't know when we get to talk about this contract, but there's some things in that contract right there that TSBA sent several examples for, and was in this, some of this stuff was in none of them. So I think we should have a building committee, we should have a budget committee.
So,
we
Mr.
need
Howard,
objectivity.
excuse me just a second, Mr. Howard.
No conditions.
Could you get back on the subject as far as our director? I appreciate what you're saying, but I'd like for us to be able to take that up at a time when that can be the subject. Right now, we just want to talk about.
This all goes to it because I've asked for all this in the past. I've asked for everything I've said here tonight. I don't think I've said a single thing new tonight. And I've been told no. And so if we can't get that worked out through, there's no reason to renew it tonight because it's going to be the same thing over and over and over again. You know, so once again, my fear for the future is lack of leadership right here, lack of working together, getting mad at each other, calling each other names, belittling their Christian faith, just because you want to beat up the messenger because you can't beat the message. Okay. And so, I hate to call them. Once again, I say this out of the purest of heart, and no personal vendettas whatsoever, that there's no reason why we should renew this early. It should be done in April. Still, the calendar year won't be over till June. We could start taking resumes right now, like Ms. Stone said right there, and let the best resume win. And Mr. D's already got the head start. But to do our due diligence as elected officials, and instead of 7 people in support of one, we need to be in support of the community and my voice. So I'll try to hush at that. Thank you very much for listening to me.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Howard. So I'll try to keep my comments brief.
I thought you had plenty of comments.
I'm sorry?
I thought you've had plenty of comments.
No, I haven't had my chance to speak, Mr. Howard. I have had to do a lot of talking, yes, but I have not spoke on Mr. John Barger and renewal of his contract. Okay. I'm not going to go back and speak to Mr. John Barger's his integrity or his character. I think that has been spoken. I agree with those that state Mr. John Barger being a man of character, and have seen that demonstrated through my time working with him. As I look at from the district's standpoint, the responses we've got from administrators and people working in the district have been very complimentary of his leadership, and that is, and it always has come back to that it being student focused. Mr. Drombarger put together along with the administration of the various schools, He helped us, and board's responsibility, to craft a 5-year strategic plan, and that states the mission of White County School District is to help all students become responsible, self-directed learners capable of functioning in our society. White County Schools are committed to helping all adult students develop the skills necessary to meet the challenges of all working people, and this will take place in a safe, secure environment, free of violence, drugs, and fear. And if you ask me what is our ability to achieve that mission over the next 5 years, or going on 3.5 now, if you ask me who I would choose to pick as to lead us in that direction and achieve that mission, it would be Mr. Drombarger. We see in from the standpoint of student achievement and progression there, we're hitting numbers. Our school districts, level 5 schools, recognized, being designated as a level 5 school throughout our district. The various times that's happened, that is no small feat. That's leadership of our director, plus the efforts of our administrators at the various school. From very appreciative of that. That's an accomplishment. Warrior Academy has a significant impact on our graduation rates. Mr. Drombarger was on that early, recognizing that how we're graded based on graduation rates by the state. With Warrior Academy, that allowed us to be from one of the lowest performing districts in the state to one of the highest, and so that was something that have seen him realize the importance of that. Also, the advocacy at the state, he's been called and been on various focus groups on education and voice of the state. We're well represented by someone who's knowledgeable about the changes that are going on and taking place in education in our state, and I feel like he has a very good handle on that to lead us through the next 4 years. So I am from my perspective, the work that he's done and the evaluations that that we have assigned to him, he's meeting the expectation of the directors. If board, as some of you pointed out, if there's something that we think needs to be addressed in performance, then it is our responsibility to bring that to a committee and to a board meeting where we can make the adjustments. But for that point, if we renew a contract now, there is a 90-day period where we can reset the evaluation for which we want to evaluate the director. That would be something that takes place in collaboration between the board and the director. We would come up with evaluation metrics for him to be evaluated against, and that would probably address some of the concerns that have been mentioned here tonight. But as far as the performance, from a performance standpoint, administering, being the CEO of our district and our schools, do think that we've been fortunate that we've hit the marks over the past 8 years that he's been serving. So with that, on our agenda, it was that we consider renewal of the contract. Oh, I'm sorry.
May I?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I apologize, Mr.
No,
Sims.
you're all good.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I didn't prepare anything. I'm just taking it all in, whatever. If you don't know me, I'm a senior at White County. Well, Joy and I are the first student representatives on the school board. And so I've been a student in White County ever since Mr. D was hired. And listen to this, I went to Central View Elementary School. Okay. Did my 3 years at middle school.
And got a great education.
in my 4th year of high school now. And I've also had the privilege of interacting with every other employee in the White County school system with the last name Drombarger. With Miss Beverly, we travel to elementary schools and present anti-bullying. It's called Move to Stand. It's awesome. Obviously, Cameron, Coach D, is a new teacher this year, and he's done a fantastic job. So I've heard the word nepotism today, and I think that both of those hires were the best option. And I just think that the heart of any school district is the students, and the student environment is incredible. Our teachers are incredible. We have teachers who care more than they have to and do so much more than they have to. We have programs not only in the high, like everywhere, that is just mind-blowing that they're in Sparta, Tennessee. You know, like we are so above where on paper we should be. And I think that Mr. D is doing a great job, and I'm a non-voting member, but if I could vote, I would vote to renew his contract. Thank you, guys.
Ms. McGill? Ms. McGill, we'll recognize you.
I've been, again, like I haven't prepared anything either. I've been like typing, like, okay, I can say this. But I've had the honor of moving around a lot and been to several different schools, elementary, middle school, and high school. And I even have him as my principal in Northville Elementary School. And the academic opportunities, like he said, especially here in Sparta, Tennessee, are absolutely incredible. Like, not only like that they're there, but they're so easy to access. Like other schools, they'd be there and you're like, oh my gosh, what's happening? I don't know how to access these. But these, it's like, it's right in your face, like it's really easy to see. And like Career Academy, like teachers and the students there, it's like a really good, like you said, in the environment. The teachers love their job, and the students I've talked to, they all respect Mr. D. They feel like they've been honored by him, even if they never really met them personally. Every interaction they've had has been positive. I've even talked to people, like as the students, who even if their parents don't like them, they might not, as everybody else has said, agree with everything that he does. They still respect him and believe that he has done a very good job. Is what he's done. And I can't vote either, but I would also vote for Mr. D.
Ms. McGill, thank you, and appreciate you getting my attention. Sorry to get distracted. All right, so.
Mr. Young, I made mine pretty short and sweet because I thought everybody probably wanted to leave. But could I say one other thing?
So if we go back around again.
Well, the only thing I wanted to say is nobody has ever questioned he does a good job with writing the grants, getting the money, getting the programs. Only problem is that this early renewal kind of goes against the people in the community. And I think the people that's going to be up for election should have a say-so. And I have no problem with making a motion to renew this for, this 6 months plus a year or whatever until the board's going to totally change. And I think they should have an input on who the director is.
But is not the election before? I mean the board.
That's the reason I suggested a year and 6 months.
Correct?
If he wants to renew it early,
but I'm saying his contract
months.
renewal is before the election.
That's the reason I said if we can renew it
but
for
you're
a
going to be
year.
renewing it anyway. The election to be able to get a new board member is not until after his contract renewal.
But I'm saying once the sitting board changed, they would have an opportunity to renew the contract or not renew it if we done it for a year and a half.
So Ms., if I could, Ms. Stone, that would be, the contract has been out and been posted. We get into discussion of the renewal. The contract can be amended, okay? So the board can take action on amended that. It would happen just like any other. We would go in and motion for that during our discussion. Someone could make a motion to amend the contract. We would vote on that. So what your request can be done, okay? So just keep that in mind.
Well, that's basically
Point of order. She can make a motion whatever she wants to.
I'm sorry?
She can make a motion whatever she wants.
I'm not sure what you're saying. I'm saying.
She said she wants to make a motion that it be renewed for a year and a half, whatever she said.
I mean.
You got a motion on the floor.
I didn't hear her say the motion. what?
Can I make a motion that if he wants to renew it early, we do this 6 months plus a year, and then the
Well-
board do it then, or we could wait till the contract's up and renew it for a year. But I think we need to get it to where it's past the election, where when this board changes, they'll have some kind of input. Because I just think that's fair. Why would anybody want to run for school board if they have no input or no say-so?
So, if we could.
I mean, we've all had the same director
But
for the whole time.
But
And
I'm
that's
saying,
just
okay,
part
you-
of- That's just part of it.
But I'm saying,
You
if you're
come
not
in, you've got a
running for
director, you just
reelection,
support them.
but I'm saying, if you're not running for reelection, you're not gonna be sitting on board
Whether
that
I am or I'm
somebody
not,
new is, and.
when I
you know,
started, his contract was just.
Point of order, who has the floor?
Okay.
I just think that why would anybody wanna run if there's gonna have no say-so? That was just what I was thinking, and I just thought, if you could get it where they had a say-so.
So, Ms. Stone, okay, you've shared your thoughts.
Okay.
To get us back on track. If, to your point, you're talking about details of the contract. So, back to the item of the day is a contract renewal. So, it's not the renewal of a contract. We can debate the contract during discussion of how that contract would read. So we could put that language in. We would do that inside the debate. So you can make that motion in there, but we need to have the discussion about the contract. And that's the reason why I'm calling for a motion for renewal. We can put the details inside of that when we get into that discussion. We have to decide we want to renew first, then we can come in and address the details of the contract.
Could I say this? It's according to how long the contract is, whether I would want to vote for renewal or not for renewal, because I don't think it's fair to do 4 years and end in the middle of the term, or if we waited and done it 4 years, I think it ought to be with a new board, because I think that's
Okay, so.
fair. But he may not want to do a 1.5-year contract or a 2-year contract.
Well, that would be his prerogative after we make a decision. So, Ms. Stone, out of respect for what you're trying to ask, I'll allow you to make a motion, but be sure you state exactly what it is you want us what you want us to take action on, okay?
I'd like to make a motion, we wait and renew his contract on June and renew it for a full year, and then evaluate this again when the board changes.
All right, board members, have a motion that we wait until June to take up this matter.
We can go ahead and renew it in June for a year.
You know that if we wait till June to take up this matter, that we've already missed that April date. So we can't wait till June.
Okay, we can make a motion that we renew now and renew it for 6 months and a year.
So you're saying that,
I just don't like the idea of it ending in the middle of a school year.
Can I make a point to that?
Yeah.
So in the contract, I have the ability to request an early renewal. So this current contract wasn't set to end in the middle of the year.
Right.
But based on this request, I've made that change.
Right.
But that could happen at any point. So, and that happens a lot in different contracts along the way. So the board could choose to extend it at any point. So they don't have to wait, and so it doesn't have to end in the middle of the year is what I'm saying. So if you're concerned that I or any director would leave you high and dry in the middle of the year, that can be addressed at any point, because it's in the contract that says both parties have the ability to address those terms at any time. And that's what's happening here. So in August one year, you could say, we're not going to wait till December to do it, we're going to go ahead and do it. So I just didn't want you to be hung up on the idea that someone's going to leave you high and dry in the middle of a school year. It can be addressed at any time. And that's what's...
I just think that, like you say, I don't like it ending in the middle of the year, and I don't think, I know Mr. Hickey and Ms. Haston is not going to be on the board here after the next election because they're not running. I just think whoever's coming into their position ought to have a say-so.
I hear you. I just want to make the point, it doesn't matter when it ends. It can be addressed by both parties at any time. It's in the contract.
All right, so, Ms. Stone, you made a motion to, could you restate your motion, please?
Yes.
Please restate it.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and renew his contract and renew it for 1 full year until a new board is set in motion that can extend it for the other time, or they can look for another director. But
Okay.
I think it's their prerogative if they went to the trouble to sit on the board.
Can I
Okay.
ask a question right here?
Yes,
So, in your motion, do you want it to be January 1 to December 31 for a full year? Or do you want it to be July 1 to June 30th?
I want it to end at the proper time in May 31st, June 1st, whatever.
It'd be June 30th.
June 30, 2025,
2024, no, 2025.
2025. June 30, 2025. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
June 30th, 2025.
And I think that at that point, I mean, there'll be a whole different board.
Okay, Ms. Stone, I appreciate that. So your motion is for this contract with those amended dates to be what we vote on.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and the amended date being July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
Correct.
All right, board members, so I have a motion on the floor to renew the contract with the amended date of term being July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025. That is the motion. Did I state that correctly? Okay, then this time I would entertain a second.
I'll second it for discussion's sake.
All right, I have a motion by Ms. Stone and a second by Mr. Howard. At this time, we would have discussion.
What were the dates? What was the first date, June?
July 1st, 2024, so that would be the day after the end of your current contract, running through June 30th, 2025. So it'd be a contract of one year.
And continuing this year, so.
Well, his contract would not end. This would not take effect, this renewal would not take effect until July 1st, 2024. Okay. Discussion.
Well,
I'll let board members speak first.
I'm not in favor for a 1-year contract. I'm either going to do a 4-year or nothing.
Yeah, and I understand Ms. Stone as far as the.
I don't know what you say.
She's
She
not.
wants a 4-year or nothing.
I mean, 1-year contract, then we're going to come back and do the same for it. I mean, well, I'm not.
You won't be.
Precisely.
But if say that's what you're wanting.
All right, let's keep it on point, okay?
So I
What's the point?
understand what Ms. Stone's saying, as far as allowing new board members to come in. There's 2 ways to look at that. Many of us came in with a director already in place. I've never elected or voted on a director. So it's been, my full term has been from someone else voting, which is fine with me. And the reason being, I wouldn't want to come in my first year. It was kind of overwhelming because I had never done it. I wouldn't want to be the one to have to pick that right off the bat. So for that reason, I would rather someone that's served for 3 or 4 years be the one that actually picked the director.
All due respect, and I mean this in total respect, you not want to seek another term. And I understand that totally, because it's a hard job and it's not popular. But I say, since you're not seeking another term and somebody's gonna come into your seat, and if they come in, they're gonna have time to learn the ropes before there is a change. If we, basically, he's gonna still be in power in the director's position for 1.5 years. because he's gonna finish this contract in 1 year or another. So whoever comes in that position in August is gonna have a whole year with him to learn his, you know, how he leads and whether they like him or not.
What would be the end date
It
of your motion?
It would be the following June.
So September to June.
So they'd have from September till the following June to know how they wanted to vote. But otherwise, they're gonna be a lame duck for 4 years. I mean,
We'd have 9 months, wouldn't we?
in my opinion. But I'm from the business world, and I just think this is major business. And in no way am I not saying that he's done a good job or bad job or whatever. I'm just saying that I think anybody that gets elected ought to be able to have a say-so.
All right, so as the senior member of this board that's been on here the longest, my very first year in, we hired Mr. Drumbarger, and we went through that process. I'm gonna tell you, if I had to do that in my first year when I came in again, I'd walk out right now. I would walk out right now because that was the most stressful 2 or 3 days of interviews that we ever had. It was not a fun time to be on this school board. I'm not in favor of a 1-year contract. I just can't see that it would benefit us because you're going to have, you know, and then 1 year after that contract's up, there's going to be at least one, two, three, maybe 3 more members that are mine, yours, and Ms. Fowler's is going to be up in the next year in
But
2026.
this year it's gonna be 5.
I understand that. So I think the process of hiring a new director with a new board is not something that we want to cross right now.
Can I bring something to everyone's attention as we get in these, and we're working through these dates and juggling through that. And Ms. Fowler, thank you for pulling this up, because current contract actually ends on May 31st of 2024. So
But I didn't wanna
well, no, I appreciate y'all bringing that up. So current contract is June 1st, 2020 through May 31st, 2024. So we would need to amend your motion.
I just didn't
to
want to
get
overrule
that.
you.
Well, no, that's fine. You bring it to my attention. That's fine. I appreciate Ms. Fowler digging into that. Okay.
So what's it amended to?
Okay. So if you could amend your motion to amend, so the date would be
What I
June
stated
1st, 2024 to May 31st, 2025. Okay?
Yes.
May I
So
speak?
board members, does everyone, let's make sure we're all clear on the dates. Mr. Hickey? Ms. Haston? Ms. Fowler? Ms.
What was it
Donald?
one more time? I'm sorry.
It would be June 1st, 2024
Okay.
to May 31st, 2025.
Do you have that, Mr. Howard? Date?
Sure. I got it right the first time.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. If I may speak?
Yes, sir.
Okay. First of all, I'm not 100% excited about an early renewal period, okay? But secondly, to compromise, okay? I like Ms. Stone's motion here because, one, it gives the opportunity for the people to speak in the election next fall. It's going to be a whole lot riding on that election right there. And you think that there's anyone running already that is running with a preconceived already idea? Every one of them are. I mean, we've got previous teachers that I'm aware of, previous spouses that work with Mr. D. If they win, their mind's already set. Okay? There's no one's going to, if possibly, or if we get renewed in this election right here, the ones that are running right there, we're going to come in with the same ideas. So there's only one concept that you need to really be concerned about right here. Either you want the people to have a voice or not. If you want the people to have a voice, you're going to vote yes on this right here. If you don't want the people to have a voice and you want to suffocate their voice right there, you're going to go ahead and push this through tonight. That's the bottom line.
The motion is for a 1-year contract renewal.
Exactly.
Well, So what are we pushing through? That's what was motion on the table.
Because you will have elections next fall, and we'll go for that election.
Mr. Howard, right now.
Why
on
are
the
you so
table-
argumentative with what I
Excuse me,
say?
Mr. Howard, I'm not. I'm trying to keep clarity. I'm trying to keep clarity in order.
I spoke very plainly, I spoke very softly, didn't get mad, and I'm not mad now.
Mr. Howard, neither am I. I'm just wanting to make sure that we all, not just the board, but the public, the people watching on Warrior Media,
I think
that
they understand totally.
we have on the floor, we have a contract, a motion and a second for a contract, one-year contract from June 1st, 2024 to May 31st, 2025. That's the motion that's on the floor. So if we push that through, we're not ramrodding anything. We're addressing the motion that's on the floor.
Well, and I told you exactly how it could be looked at too from the people's side, that they would get a voice in next year's election on who would be sitting here just a few months after that.
Didn't the people already vote us in, so we would have a voice?
Okay.
Excuse me?
All right, let's, please, I ask for refrain from approval or disapproval from the audience, so please allow board members to.
So may I still retain the floor right here since you brought question to me, okay? Since you directed back at me, I should have the reasonable reason to respond to it. How do I get you all to understand the people need to have a say? That's what you were elected to do. If you chose not to run, that's fine, okay? I wish this argument was not even here. I wish this discussion was not even here. It could be simply changed if the director just withdraw it. We wouldn't even have this many people sitting here, half on that side, half on this side, already getting upset. This board member problem getting upset right now, okay? You could fix it, Mr. D.
So, Ms.
Wait, let me answer that, because I ain't got to speak in a minute. So, he brings up, how can we get the people's voice, or listen to the people's voice? So from my notes, all right, 4 people on the board reached out for opinions from the public, from their district, and even from other districts. 3 of those people shared numbers that they kept up with that was an overwhelming majority that was for it. So how is that not listening to the people? We did our jobs. We asked our district, but yet we're being told we're not listening. So I guess, if that's an answer, but that's kind of confusing to me.
Okay.
I would like to respond to that before we shut our discussion.
Mr. Howard, let's give the board members the opportunity to speak.
That's all
Ms.
I wanted.
Ace?
I was actually just about to say the exact same thing, because I feel like I did the legwork. I feel like I reached out to everybody, not only in my district, and people in other districts.
Okay. Ms. Fowler, anything you need to add on this motion?
I've been asked by some of the people in the community what Sherry made a motion for, but that's all I got to say.
Okay, Mr. McDonald?
I'm ready to vote.
Okay. All right, so we call for a vote. We're going to
Question.
vote, excuse me.
I asked you to have another voice after everyone else spoke. Are you going to allow that or not?
Mr. Howard, can you make it succinct? I want to get to Ms. Stone's vote, motion.
Everyone that I've heard, the majority of their polling was done from the teachers. I've already admitted that Mr. Dronebarger, they love him, okay? And if you got 5 people, 6 people's opinions from the community, that shouldn't even be allowed as far as numbers to be understood, okay? And even with Mr. Jason right here, his number of 100 and something people right there, they was still out of 302 surveys right there, there was approximately 200 that didn't even voice an opinion, right? Yep. So can we understand that those possible 200 were either scared to or would have said no?
Okay, please, audience, please, Mr. Howard, I just want to make sure you understand what you just said, okay? Because I think this needs to be clarified. I think what I heard you just said, but I'm going to give you the opportunity to correct it. I think what you just said was that the teachers and administrators that were polled by members of this board who are voting members of this community, what you're saying is that their vote didn't count. That's what I heard you say. Would you speak to that?
That's exactly opposite of what I have said tonight, okay? I have told every one of the teachers that I respect them as a voting block. I said that earlier tonight, okay? So when you want to just bring up this argumentative like that, I don't want to get into an argument like this right here. I simply made this statement right there, and I believe Mr. Jason was fixing to agree with me right there, that there was that possibility that those others polled right there, if they weren't scared or would have answered, they could possibly said no. So, hey, I'm ready to vote too, okay? This is just a terrible bad situation. It's a terrible argumentative situation right here. We should have never been faced with it. Mr. D, you should have never asked for it earlier.
Well, you're making me question why I would, Mr. Howard.
You still got opportunity to pull it out.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor, which is pending. So at this time, we will go through and do a roll call vote. So roll call will be, Ms. Sims, you have that?
Yes, on your motion.
Would you go, so you can do this, and please go alphabetically. And the motion is to renew the contract from the period of June 1st, 2024 to May 31st, 2025. That's what we're voting on, board. So,
Question.
called for a vote, Mr. Howard.
On this contract, that we don't get any say-so into how it's written.
No, don't we vote first and then we can amend it? Wasn't that what you said? No.
What the intent was that we vote on contract renewal. Then we get into the details of the contract. But that wasn't the case because motion was made that we renew the contract with that date. So that's what we're going to be voting on. So it's the same contract that he's under now, okay? The only thing that's changed is it's a motion to approve that contract with that date change. It wasn't to enter into contract renewal and to vote on, to make a motion for a contract renewal. So we kind of bypassed the part of discussing the contract. So we're going to go with the motion that's on the floor that was made, and that would be to vote on renewing the contract as presented from June 1st, 2024 to May 31st, 2025.
Can I say one thing?
Sure.
There's going to be two contracts at that point, because right now I'm under contract until the end of May. So I would be under one contract, and then I'm going to have another contract waiting on me in June. Is that what you're
Correct.
proposing?
Yes.
Like, that's-
You'd be under the contract you're under now, correct? Through the time it ends, and then you'd be under a new contract for a year, right?
You're offering me a contract that, for a future date. Instead of just renewing this contract from today through that year and a half.
That'd be fine. Renew it from right now for a year and a half.
I'm
and then you're under
not trying to
contract
muddy
you're
the
under.
waters, but that doesn't sound like good business practice to have me running two separate contracts.
Well, can we just keep the contract you're under right now and extend it through that date of 2025?
I don't
Okay,
know.
so I'm going to make a motion.
We have a motion.
I'm going to make a motion to amend the contract date from June 1st, 2024 to January 1st, 2024, and ending on May 31st, 2025. So that way we can address the contract at a reasonable time, and there we won't have a contract hanging out there in the future. It can start on January 1.
Yeah, we have a motion in a second.
So I have a motion. Did anybody second that?
Yeah, we had a motion on the floor. We've got.
This is amendment.
Yes, rescind our motion, you make.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You gotta
Okay.
vote on her motion on the floor first.
Can't she rescind it?
If she wants to rescind it, she can.
Okay, if I rescind.
Point of order, parliamentary rules says Mr. Young can make that motion right there to amend.
A
okay?
motion to amend, and then we come back.
Then once the amendment passes right there, then you vote on the motion as amended, and it would automatically change the dates.
Correct. Thank you,
So what
Mr.
Mr.
Howard.
Young-
Okay.
So that
All right,
is,
that makes sense.
it is, yes. I can make the motion. Did we have a second by Mr. Hickey?
I second.
Second by Ms. Fowler. So I have a motion and a second to amend the date on the proposed contract to January 1st, 2024. To Ms. Stone's motion, move that to January 1st, 2024 through May 31st, 2025. That is the motion, the motion for amendment. So a motion is second. Any discussion on that? Okay. Roll call vote on the amendment.
Ms. Fowler,
Oh, yes.
Ms. Haston, Mr. Hickey,
No.
Mr. Howard,
If it will help the motion, yes. Let's get this over.
Mr. McDonald,
No.
Ms. Stone,
Yes.
Mr. Young.
I would vote yes. So we have just amended the motion, if I'm correct. We have 4 yeses and 3 nos to amend the date of the Ms. Stone's proposal for the contract from January 1st, 2024 to May 31st, 2025. So all board members understand that that is the date that we have arrived at on Ms. Stone's motion. So now we'll take up the motion to renew the contract as presented from a date of January 1st, 2024 to May 31st, 2025. So this time I ask for a roll call vote. Ms. Sims.
Ms. Fowler,
Yes.
Ms. Haston,
No.
Mr. Hickey,
No.
Mr. Howard,
Yes.
Mr. McDonald,
No.
Ms. Stone,
Yes.
Mr. Young.
No. Okay. So that was on Ms. Stone's motion. Now, the item on the agenda was contract renewal based on what was presented. So does anybody want to make a motion on the contract that we have had out for the public viewing for renewal?
I'll make a motion that we deny renewal early and wait till April.
I second it.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, roll call vote.
Fowler,
Wait a minute, what was the motion here?
Delay until April.
Delay until April. Yes.
Haston,
No.
Hickey,
No.
Howard,
Yes.
McDonald,
No.
Stone,
Yes.
Young.
No. Okay. So again, I'll bring it back to the order of the day. The contract that has been published on our website for renewal, I would entertain a motion to renew the contract as presented.
So moved.
A motion by Ms. Haston. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hickey. Discussion?
Mr. Young, I'd like to say one more thing. I hope all you board members leave tonight with a pure heart and a clear conscience. Because I am.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Howard. Any other comments? Any other comments? Okay. Hearing none, Ms. Sims, roll call vote, please.
Fowler,
No.
Haston,
Yes.
Hickey,
Yes.
Howard,
No.
McDonald,
Yes.
Stone,
No.
Young,
Yes. Order, please. Thank you, but order, please. We have, taken care of the director's contract renewal, and that will start going into effect and be amended, going into effect on January 1st, 2024. All right, next item on our agenda as we move to is our consent agenda.
We still didn't discuss the contract.
We just approved it.
No, the whole time we've been told that we get to discuss the contract,
To amend it.
to amend the contract.
I had the time for discussion, and that's when that was coming up.
Motion, I'll put a motion on the floor that we postpone this and move this contract discussion until next month so we can have time to make adjustments on it.
Mr. Howard, we've already made that. We've already made the decision.
You flat told us tonight that we would have the time to discuss the contract
Why did you
afterwards.
not bring it up in the discussion?
I
period?
did.
No, you didn't when the motion was on the floor.
He was making a motion to mine.
I was making the motion of the contract renewal, and then we would discuss the contract itself later. Yes or no?
The motion was vote on the contract that was available for public viewing as presented.
The renewal of the dates. That's correct.
It was, we voted on the contract that was available for public viewing.
You know, I wish that you were objective enough.
I
to
am,
look at
Mr. Howard.
everything. I really do. I really do. Because we never had any input whatsoever in making this contract right here. And there's things in this contract right here that I don't know that's ever been in any other contract.
All right.
So you'll either accept my motion or not.
No, I don't, because I gave the opportunity for us to address the contract. Nobody took advantage of it. The motion was clear that we're voting on the contract that was presented to the public, okay? So next item, we're going to move on to our consent agenda. And so, board members, item number 7, we went over items A through Q in the consent agenda and discussed those in the committee. Is all those items that we discussed, is there any of those items that feel that need to be pulled out? We've already addressed that in our approval of the minutes. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. McDonald. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Fowler. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman, just a point of clarity, and I spoke to Ms. Sims on this, in our policy meeting minutes from last month, said that I was absent. I just want to make it public knowledge that I was physically absent from the meeting, but I was here via telephone as my drive in from work. So did take part in that meeting. So just wanted to make that state that for the record.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Sims, you have that noted?
Yes, I do.
Correction. All right. All right. This time, all in favor of approval of our consent agenda, please notify by signifying by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Next item is our district update. Mr. Drombarger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will try and be brief. Schools are completing exams for the first semester. MAP testing in K through 8th grade is taking place, and end of course testing at the high school. Personnel reports are in your folders for your review. As Mr. Howard stated earlier, we'll be watching the state legislature closely in the spring as they address many bills affecting public education, most notably Governor Lee's proposed voucher program. Most public school districts across the state oppose this plan, and many school boards have displayed open opposition and submitted resolutions accordingly. This idea is not good for public education, and it will adversely affect White County schools. Funding, we received a growth payment from TISA in the amount of $86,218.29, so that was exciting. That's payment based on how our students did last year on TCAP and is realized in December of this year. We also received the money's actually come in from the RUS grant, the technology grant of $989,760, and that will go mostly to interactive panels in the classroom. Safety, we began using our recent safety grant funds to enhance safety measures across the district. Cameras, door locks, and window treatments are top of the list. We continue to work with SSOs, our school support organizations, to organize their paperwork and ensure compliance. We're thankful for these organizations and individuals that devote their time to our school School District. A through F letter grade determinations have come out from the Tennessee Department of Education to districts. We will be reviewing that data and the appeals window. Those are embargoed right now, and they'll be released to the public before Christmas. It's my opinion that, and that of many school directors, that these letter grades are unfair to schools, as they're an attempt to make public schools look bad while garnering support for the voucher private school agenda. So there's more to come on that. As we mentioned earlier, we have a wrestling team at the high school. They won their first match one of their first matches this week. Flag football is starting in a trial basis, and we hope that to become a school sport for our girls very soon. Girls bowling team won the district championship. And a couple building project notes. Bonnycroft roof panels are being installed. The electric system is being energized, and the pass-through to the old building will happen soon. At White County High School softball facility, the concrete pours are complete. Work on the metal siding will commence soon, and the project's still on schedule to be completed before softball practice begins. That is a brief director's report. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have.
All right. Does anybody have any questions for the director? Okay. Hearing none, brings us to the next item on our agenda, and that is public comment. We have 2 on the agenda for actually 4. 1 left, I'm not sure, and then Ms. Webb was also she was on the previous discussion recognized, and so her name came off because she was speaking of the director's contract. One lady that was that also spoke the director's contract has left. I have one, Mr. Dan Lee's agenda item discussed. Mr. Lee, could you speak specifically to what agenda item that it is you'd like to speak about?
I want to speak briefly about teachers, the school board, parents, and school expenditures.
Okay. Mr. Lee, you have 5 minutes, please.
Okay. A middle school teacher was indicted on 3 counts of rape of a 12-year-old. There's an ongoing investigation by the White County Sheriff's Office and the district attorney. Sheriff Steve Page has asked families to report unusual behavior or post-traumatic stress experienced by their middle school children, as he believes there may still be unreported victims of rape. This shameful story from the White County schools made state and national news. A White County middle school teacher made state and national news for giving a writing assignment to her students about what it would be like to hurt and kill someone. Only after the teacher was urged by her superiors, an apology letter was issued. No disciplinary action was taken against the teacher, and she retained her job. Was brushed under the rug. But if a student had independently written a paper on the same subject, there would be an investigation by authorities, and very serious consequences would result against the child and the family. I think that's disgusting. An unvetted behavioral counselor at Woodland Park Elementary in White County made it public on social media that he hated America and posted pornographic and cross-dressing photos of himself. This was tolerated by the principal of Woodland Park and Director Drumbarger only after outraged parents brought evidence of the public perversion to the school board with a so-called behavior counselor and his contract employer permanently discharged. There's a number of other issues there, but I'm going to go on to something else. White County school board members do not seem to have any input on discipline for serious infractions by school employees. It seems that the infractions must be so serious that the sheriff and the DA are forced to step in. An example that made the news was the middle teacher that was indicted on 3 counts of rape of a 12-year-old. Was there a reason why other teachers or administrators didn't see signs before these children were harmed? And why hasn't a plan been discussed with the school board to prevent such crimes by employees who infiltrate the schools? Was a thorough background check and an FBI check done? The way it stands today, all other infringements by employees that do not make the news and do not involve the sheriff's office are kept secret, and the offending employees are protected by the director. That is, until the incidents leaks out to the parents, then the community, and eventually to state and national news. The school board must be made aware by the director in these situations so they can make good policy that will protect the children. Parents are not routinely informed about situations or problems at school that would be alarming at any grade level. Then it becomes public knowledge by word of mouth or after local authorities have gotten involved. Last-minute damage control is not the way to handle problems. Transparency with the school board and by the people in the community is the only way to deal with these problems. There's nothing more betraying than to be surprised with secrets that should never have been secret in the first place. Taxpayers have a right to know what's going on in their schools, good or bad, and keeping it secret just makes things worse. White County property taxes are due to increase because the director wants to build an addition to Doyle School costing $3 million over the school's budget. Central View School could be reopened for a fraction of that price. And Central View features a tornado safety facility while Doyle does not. The new Finley School was originally estimated to cost $22 million and has now exceeded $28 million because of the continuous cost of a leaking roof and problems with the gym and the bathroom. As director, Director Grumbauer has spent $500,000 for a rectangular box equivalent to the size of a goat or a large animal type run shelter for the girls softball facility. And personally looked at this shelter, and if we paid $500,000, we paid probably 10 times too much for that thing. I don't know how many competitive bids we get for things. That should be policy. It's always been policy everywhere I've worked. Anything I've had to buy, I've had to get competitive bids, and I had to justify if I didn't want to go with the most competitive bid. I hope that's being done here in the school system. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lee. Is there a Miss Caroline Eves? Miss Eves, your item that you wish to discuss, that is not an agenda item. I am your board representative, and so I'd be happy to discuss that with you if you so choose.
I can speak publicly about what happened in a White County school. I was civilly violated against.
I'm sorry?
My civil rights were violated in a White County high school. Why is that not an issue to bring up in front of the board during public comment?
Have you brought this up with the through the proper channels of administration and HR?
No, HR, I was fired.
Okay. I think it's probably, given this matter, it's probably in the best interest of you. It's probably in the best interest of you if we table this.
To me, is to speak publicly about what happens, what is going on in White County high schools. There's a racial issue problem going on.
Okay. That's not an agenda item. If you would like to speak about that, put in on that a future. Excuse me?
I'd like to see your bylaws.
Policy 1404.
I'd like to see your bylaws.
Mr. Young?
Yes, ma'am.
I hate to interrupt you, but didn't we agree at the last meeting, anybody that wanted to make a comment?
Why are you censoring me on a problem I'm bringing to the public about a racial problem in your high school?
Excuse me. Ms. Eves, I understand that there was some HR issues with you and the school, so I think that it would be best if, before you talk about this subject, that we have...
I'm not talking about the problem with me. I'm not bringing that up. I'm bringing up a racial problem in your school about a word that is allowed to be used by certain races and not allowed
That's not appropriate. I'm not going to recognize that tonight. You can have that offline, but at this board meeting, I'm just not going to bring that up, okay? That's something that you should probably get with the director, get with the people administrative. They can handle that better than us.
They're not wanting to handle it. That's the problem. I asked other people in
Then
the
why
school,
don't you-
and they
why
said
don't
it
you-
is appropriate to be allowed in the school.
Okay, why don't you then bring that up with your
Exactly what I'm
district
telling you about.
representative, and then we can have a conversation. And if we need to schedule
No,
this
I
for...
want the parents to know what is going on in the high schools about this word and the double standards of this word.
Ma'am, I'm not going to bring that up in this setting. We can put
You are
this...
censoring me in a public meeting, in a public forum.
I'm sorry, if that's the way you feel, that's, I respect that, but regarding this matter, we're not going to have that discussion in public until me as a chairman and my fellow board members have information about what you want to talk about. That
You can
is...
turn the camera off, and I want to talk about it right now.
I'm sorry, ma'am, I'm not going to recognize it, okay? That's, we're not going to recognize that, we'll move on. Again, if you want to come and talk about a future board meeting, okay, you need to come to me, we'll talk about the material. You need to provide material, because what you're wanting to talk about is not on our agenda, okay?
It is
So
a public comment. I am making a public comment on a problem.
1404 speaks to an agenda
Please read
item.
1404 because I'm not privy to your bylaws.
Okay, it's posted on the website, but I'll share it with you for, so that you know.
It was adopted. It was discussed, and I would have had it on this month's agenda, but we had so much to do. I'll have it on next month's agenda, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, well then, can you ask her to, could you ask her just accept my ruling on that, and then,
If you would get with me after this, I'll gladly hear your request and see if I can get it on next month's agenda.
excuse me, are you second district?
I'm 7. Sorry.
Pardon?
I realize now that I'm 7, right? I think we are 7.
Okay.
I'm 7.
So,
That is
that would
mine.
be Ms. Fowler. Could
So
you
you'll
get
get
with me?
after
Yes.
the meeting.
Okay, thank you, Ms.
Well,
Eves.
I am like to put it on record that I'm being censored.
Okay,
And I
well,
am very unhappy about how I'm being censored.
I'm
I
not
don't know-
suppressing your speech, I'm just not going to give you the opportunity in this format, but thank you. All right.
Mr. Chairman, that's a perfect example of what I've tried to express
Hey,
to this
Mr.
board.
Howard, let Ms. Fowler, let her have the conversation with Ms. Fowler, okay?
Why can't I?
Pardon?
As board members, we
Then
respect the
you can take,
entire.
then you can take it
county
up, okay?
As a district.
All right, moving on, next item on the agenda is new business. We have a fiscal year 2025 school budget calendar, and we want to, we discussed that in our packet tonight. So board members, you had a chance to review that. Any questions on the budget calendar for our Mr. D or myself? Okay, hearing none, I entertain a motion for approval of the fiscal year 2025 school budget calendar.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Hickey. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. McDonald. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item of new business is the approval, the update of school fund revision to policy 3206, the use of school facilities fee schedule. We did make an adjustment on that to allow us to recoup overtime costs that we were incurring. So we had that particular policy was reviewed. All it is moving for custodial fees from $25 to $35, and like to suspend second reading on that so we can get that in place now for anybody that is wanting to use our facility. So this time I would entertain a motion for approval of that policy, and then would entertain a motion to suspend second reading.
So moved.
Motion.
On both.
Motion to approve the policy revision and a motion to suspend second reading. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Fowler. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, next item on the agenda is chairman's comments. Our next board meeting is January 11th, 2024 at Dual Elementary. We'll have committee meetings at 5 o'clock and board meeting at 6. This time I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Motion and a second.
Second.
Second, all right. All those in favor, you may excuse yourself this time. Thank you all.